Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the recovery addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy
They
there.
got the wrong guy. The dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
All right, that was the shortest lunch on record. That was so short. I had a quick sandwich. I grabbed the last piece of bread from the bread my wife made yesterday. Beautiful wheat bread. It's fantastic. Spread a little, did a strawberry jam on it, and then I ate a pear, and that was lunch. It's going to have to do because the court's going to come back in session here in just a couple minutes. So we've got to be ready, and we've got to be here to make sure they do it right. But most importantly of all, we have to give away the internet again. This time it looks like it's going to go to that guy. That guy, Boo. Guess what? Boo-hoo is what you're trying to say, because you won the internet and everything that comes with it. We are re-gifting it to you right as we speak, and it's all yours. Congratulations or condolences. It's on your shoulders. Good luck. That's basically where it's at. I will say I saw that guy. I think you also commented. Let me just scroll up here, see if I see where that was. Yes, I did start early. Sorry about that. But I accidentally set the start time to be right when court started again. So let's see. Just remember. Let's see. I can't find it now. It was super important. You said that one of the biggest. Oh, here it is. The Golden Girl. One of the biggest things in controlling the interwebs is making sure the cables are plugged in right. Cable management is very important. I could not have said it better myself. That guy. I really couldn't. And as such, I have the newest Recovery Addict hardware equipment that I've just purchased, and it just arrived today. Mrs. R.A. brought it in before she took the kids out on a field trip today, and so I wanted to open it with you. Well, I just opened it already, sorry. But I'm just seeing it for the first time here. And this is for cable management. We'll throw that right there in the garbage can. Just kidding, the recycling. I'm so excited about this. Do you guys see what I got here? I can run the entire world off this. A single plug, and I think I've got 18 sockets, as well as a USB-C and 3 USB-As. I need 12. I need 12 outlets for everything that I run here. There are 12 plugs, AC plugs that I have to have plugged in. And right now, cable management is not very good back on the other side of the desk. So I will tonight I will get this reconfigured and get everything cleaned up a little bit. So that guy, you were 100% correct. Quick roll call. I'm going to have to move fast here. I'm not sure if I can get everybody on the screen, but let's see. Ashley, T-Rocks, Golden Girl, Angie, Golden Mom. Mac is here. Tish says, I'm back. Yes, you are. Welcome back. Creative B, Weather Watch. I think we had you already. Welcome back as well. There's still a Boy Scout. Let's see, Lindsay Hendricks. Bite Me is back as well. Already harassing people to hit the like button, and that's acceptable. That's allowed. Thank you very much. AJ is here. Tag, Katrina, Sunshine and Sunflowers. This intro is so fancy. Why is the dog chewing on this guy? I mean to actually upgrade that intro. I want to add more video to it that's more action instead of stock footage. So we'll get that. I'll work on that hopefully when we have some downtime. Ernest is here. Hi, Addicts. Hello. Welcome. One of us. Jim Bob. Good to have you here. Roxanne. I think P. Cooper. Casey Jones. Had a delicious salad for lunch. That's tasty. AJ says, I texted you a video about the history of hot chocolate. Yeah. Is that the Aztec one with the blood? because I may or may not have watched that one. Let's see. Who else did I skip anything? Free Pickles, hit the like button, says Bike Me. I said Bike Me. I meant Bite Me. I'm thinking Pickles. Put the K in there. AJ Katrina, Jim Bob, Dilly Pickles. USB plugs on it too. Yeah, I'm super excited about that. I run my this camera right here runs off of USB power. It happens to be I think it's a GoPro Hero 8 Black is what it is. I've got another one around here somewhere, but I'm not using that one. But it's much easier to just run off a USB adapter because I have the media mod on it. And so I do it that way instead of having to keep the battery charged all the time. It is fancy. It's Amazon special. I ordered it on Monday. It got here on Wednesday. JK is here. Casey Jones. Christy Busby is here. Hey, everyone. Jonathan Davenport. Good to have you here as well. Sunshine Sunflowers. Laura. Jiggly Jules. Well, here's a call for me. Hang on one second. Okay, sorry about that. I had to take that call. It was actually the principal from a local school that Mrs. R.A. and I are making a little donation of some items for the kids, some toys from a business venture a long time ago. We had some leftover inventory, and we wanted to donate it to the school so they could give them out as behavior rewards and things like that, maybe help them focus in class. Anyway, the principal just called back and said, yes, we'd love them for sure. Please drop them by. So that's what that was about, and I had to take the call. Let's see, where did I get it? Amazon? Yes, send us a link. How does one become an Amazon affiliate? I don't know. I think I am, but I've never received any affiliate money from it, even though I refer people to it. So I don't know. Sunshine Sunflowers, I'll give you a link if you want. Give me just a second here. This particular power outlet I really like because, although I haven't used it yet. First of all, it had a lot of good reviews. Let's see, previous orders. There we go. It has an 8-foot cord, which is important to me because of how my power is set up. Link text. Copy. There we go. I'm going to put it in chat right here. This is the plug I just got, if you're interested in it. For those of you that need 18 outlets next to your computer like I do. That is an affiliate link. I'm not sure if it works. I've never received a penny for any affiliate links I've ever shared with anybody. So maybe my affiliate link is broken. Anyway, what was I saying? We're going to give that stuff. It frees up some room in our house, which is important, but also it's exciting to give some stuff to the school. Even though we're homeschoolers, our kids have plenty of toys, so we're going to give them away. I missed the cat song. Maybe we play it at an appropriate time, please. I just did. That was it. I sort of cut it off a little abruptly. Sorry about that. We'll do a better job next time. Do we get a hot mic from Scott? No. Not going to happen. I'm very careful. Let's see. Bite me. So the link's there if that's any good. If you want to wait till I test it first and give me a day or two to let you know my thoughts, I can do that as well. Katrina flipped the chat switch. Good job. It looks like it's working now. Basic Brittany, be careful when they show the body cam videos. You'll see deceased, unfortunately. Okay, basic Brittany. I actually went back during lunch while I was eating. And watch the body camera footage. So I'm familiar with what they're talking about. We showed the edited body cam video take that Law and Crime basically edited everything out. It was just blurred for all but like 15 seconds of the footage. So we've already seen that before. If they go back and show it, I appreciate the heads up because they do show the bodies lying on the floor. But we're going to try not to do that. We'll just see what happens. If something gets shown, we're all adults here. This isn't made for kids. We understand that this is a murder trial we're talking about, and hopefully we'll do it tastefully and try not to focus on that too much. Let's see. I was in the middle of roll call, but then I lost it. Looks like court's coming back right now. Holy cow! I knew I wasn't going to have much time. Audio 2 on. We need to crank the sound up because they're. Let's see. Come on, 2. There we go.
All right, I hope you all had a good lunch.
Perfect timing.
We're all back. We have our jury, we have counsel, we have Mr. Jackson, and we have Mr. Rosenberg back at the stand. And again, sir, I would just remind you that you are still under oath. I'm sure you all remember, but I think we had just finished right before lunch with Ms. Slaughter had finished her direct examination. And so we'll turn it over to you, Mr. Johnson.
I'm curious, what's that on his desk in front of him? What's that box?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Bosenberg.
Hi.
You would agree that thorough police work convicts the guilty. Would you agree with that?
That'd be a true statement.
And it also protects the innocent, does it not?
Yes.
I'm sure you followed with great interest that case out of Idaho, being a former crime scene unit investigator.
To be honest, I haven't actually followed much of that at all.
Okay. But you are aware that it was DNA that solved that case, correct?
I did hear something about that, yes.
That it was a small amount of DNA
He's talking
on a
about
knife
BK.
sheath that was left at the scene, right?
Yes.
Other than that, there might not have been any other evidence that anybody was ever in there.
Yeah, potentially, yes.
Other than the bodies,
In fact, in this case, we had at least 5 police officers that went through this crime scene. Is that right?
Yeah, it's not solved
Before
yet.
you got there.
He's jumping the gun a little bit.
Are you aware how many officers went through there before you got there?
I couldn't give you an exact number, no.
If I told you that Officer Brown had been in there, would you have any reason to disagree with that?
No.
Or Officer Barber?
No.
Officer Buckles?
No.
Or Kaczynski?
No.
Or Sergeant Hansen?
No.
Or Corsa the dog?
No.
Now, with respect to Officer Brown, who went through the house along with the other officers, all on top of each other, all running through trying to secure the residence, they were all in that house, right?
Yes.
What evidence would you expect to see that they were ever there?
Well, in our case, we have body cam videos to show that we were there.
That's not
right.
what we're talking
They
about.
had the body cam video. But if they weren't wearing body cameras, how would you prove that they were ever there?
I suppose their account of what happened,
This is
Talking
good
about
defense.
physical evidence.
physical evidence.
This is good defense. He's going to say none.
Probably not a whole lot, unless they, left their own DNA anywhere throughout
Right.
the process.
Right. If they left their own DNA there, right? You would
Yes.
agree with that. Or if they left fingerprints there, correct?
Haven't got anything back from
potential would
California. I just
exist,
checked.
yes.
It's Florida
I mean,
as
a lot
well.
of them wear the latex gloves. But if they left fingerprints there, if they weren't wearing the gloves, they'd leave their fingerprints there, right?
Potentially.
Or they would leave footprints there coming from outside to inside.
Potentially.
Or they would leave hairs there, right?
Potentially.
People do shed hairs, do they not?
They do.
Yes.
And that is a crime investigating technique.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I should have said crime scene investigating technique. Right? You learned that at the academy.
Hairs can be used, yes, for crime scene investigations.
And when they taught you that at the academy, they taught you how to look for hairs, right?
I'm sure it was covered, yes.
And
I slept in that day.
I don't specifically remember, but I'm sure it was covered, yes.
But you didn't do any of that at the crime scene on Oakleaf Court, did you?
No.
You didn't do any attempts to collect any hairs or fibers at the scene?
No.
Any other way we could prove that Officers Brown or Barber or Buckles or Kaczynski or Sergeant Hansen or Course of the Dog were at that scene?
I mean, aside from the previously mentioned ways, no.
Okay.
Not that I can think of.
Now, you did find a fingerprint on that gun. I think you called it Leighton number 3. That is an identifiable fingerprint, is it not?
Palm print, yes.
Palm print. It is identifiable, right?
We did not identify it.
As of yet, right?
The potential exists to have it identified, but it hasn't been.
And what database did you submit this Leighton print number 3?
That would have been submitted through the Iowa database and the FBI database.
Are you sure you submitted it through the FBI database?
Upon reviewing my reports, I did not mention that it was submitted through the FBI database. I know it was submitted through the Iowa database.
Okay. And the Iowa database would be a considerably smaller database, would it not?
Yes.
And there's enough detail in this palm print that you can exclude people as being the person who had this palm print, right?
I would say, yeah, there would exist enough detail to do an exclusion.
How many points of identification could you identify on this palm print?
If I remember, it was close to the borderline for identification, but I think it was around 8 to 10 maybe.
All right. Maybe 10, maybe more than 10?
He's not being a jerk. He's just basically
Potentially, I don't know off the
trap
top of
him in
my
a
head.
corner and say,
And it's so identifiable
This
that
is
you
why we
entered
don't
it into
have-
the database twice, right?
I don't know if I would use the word so identifiable that I entered it twice. I entered it twice because the first time didn't result in anything. So
he's leading him down a path to say this is why
Re-entered
the
it.
other person
Sometimes
who's in
your
the house
orientation,
didn't leave any evidence.
on entry might have an effect. I don't know for sure, but so I entered it twice, yes.
You entered it twice because you weren't sure which direction that, or maybe which hand the palm was from? Is that what you did for the algorithm?
Correct, yes. I'm not sure how orientation is affected by the algorithm, but I tried it to see if it would result in any different results from the system.
And this is a print that could belong to the intruder, correct?
It's an unidentified print, so we don't know who it belongs to.
But it could belong to the intruder, right? I don't believe that was answered.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
Could you state that question again?
It's an unidentified print as of yet, correct?
Correct.
So it could belong to the intruder.
Careful here.
I guess insinuating that an intruder existed, it's hard to say. I don't have any person I can attribute that print to at this moment in time.
So it could belong to the intruder.
He does
I
not.
don't know
want
if
to,
I can.
He does want to say yes.
I can say I don't know who it belongs to.
Okay. All right. And when I asked you in deposition whether you could rule out that there was an intruder in this case, you said no, you could not. Right?
I would have to review my deposition, but I probably said something like that, yes.
I said, do you have an opinion as to whether or not there was an intruder in this house? I'm going to adjust my microphone. Do you have an opinion as to whether or not there was an intruder in this house, or whether or not it was Mr. Jackson who killed his family? Your answer was no. Remember that?
Yes.
And that was a deposition that we took of you back on August 10th of 2022, correct?
Yes.
And you were under oath at that time.
Yes.
So you stand by your testimony today, do you not?
That was my opinion, then yes.
Do you want me to show it to you?
No, I believe you.
Okay. All right.
Zesty, good to have you here for the
And I
live chat.
also asked you
Welcome.
if you had an opinion whether or not Mr. Jackson's injury was self-inflicted or not. By Mr. Jackson, I'm sorry, Alexander Jackson, his injury to his foot. Do you have an opinion whether or not that was self-inflicted or as a result of a struggle? Your answer was no. Right?
That is correct.
And that's the answer you gave us under oath back on August 10th of 2022.
Yes.
They're doing a good job. Defense is doing a good job
With
here.
respect to this latent print number 3 then, there was sufficient enough detail that you could enter it into the database, correct?
The database is on a threshold on detail that's present in a print. You could enter a print with little to no detail into the system.
Okay. And it could still spit out potential hits.
Yes.
And how many potential hits did this palm print give you?
So it's always based on an algorithm, and the algorithm scores responses, and so it always kicks back like the top 5
Sorry, I had the chats off.
that scored the highest through its algorithm.
And then, so you got 5 names.
Yes.
All right. That were all potential matches to this print.
Based on the algorithm's reports.
And then you went through, you had enough detail from this palm print that you could exclude those 5 people as being the source of that print. Is that right?
Light bulb lady's thirsty.
Yes, I guess you could say exclude them. It's more like I wasn't able to confirm any of them.
So there's some doubt as to whether one of these 5 people might have been the contributor?
No. I guess I don't know how to answer that.
That's
Well,
not
Joe,
good.
What I'm trying to determine is it sounds like there's some doubt in your mind as to whether or not you could exclude those 5 people as being the source of that print.
Yeah, I suppose you could say that they were excluded because I did review them and ruled them out as being contributors, so yes.
You don't seem very certain about that.
Well, so the case with this latent print, there wasn't a lot of detail in there. We were kind of right at that threshold. So when you enter in prints, the results from the prints scored very low on the algorithm, which means that the algorithm had not a lot of data to match them up to latent prints either. So usually when you match up a print, the algorithm scores significantly higher than what these resulted in.
So how many of these people that showed up on your search were potentially the contributor of this print?
So like I said, I believe that it kicked out the top 5 algorithm results.
And how many of those were potentially the contributor of this print?
According to the algorithm, they had the 5 highest algorithmic scores through the system.
So they were all potential contributors of this print in your mind?
Yeah, this is what he's going for. Reasonable
Technically,
doubt.
yes, we go through the list to confirm if one of them was the contributor of the print.
So one of those people that are walking around in the state of Iowa could be the contributor of this print that you found on this gun in the Jackson home.
I don't know if I would say that. Like, so the algorithmic score was extremely low, and I had reviewed them and wasn't able to, in essence, verify that algorithmic score was low, and that I couldn't find that latent print within those top 5 results.
So you couldn't exclude those 5 people as being the contributor of that print because you didn't have enough information. Is that what you're saying?
Because of the low quality of the latent print, I don't know if I would exhaustively say exclude, because there was very little detail, even though there was enough minutia points to potentially make an ID. It was one of a more difficult print to examine and find just based on the details of the print.
So how many of these people that came up of the top 5 were you not able to exclude as the possible source of this print?
Again, I went through all 5 of them and I didn't confirm that were the contributors. So I, in essence, excluded them from the list.
Because you couldn't confirm, you couldn't make a match. Not because you couldn't tell that it wasn't them, you just couldn't tell that it was them. Do you see the difference?
I do.
Okay. So I'm just trying to figure out what your testimony is here. Sounds to me like what you're saying is you couldn't match them to it because you didn't have enough information. Is that right? As opposed to testifying that you couldn't exclude them because you had enough information that they didn't match.
Yes, I guess kind of semantics on how you view it, not able to confirm or excluding.
Okay, so we have a latent print, right? Latent
Yes.
number 3. Do you have a photograph of that with you?
I probably do, yes.
Can you get it out for us?
Sure.
Thank you.
This is good defense work. All I need to have is, in the minds of the jury, the possibility, they have to be able to have some reasonable doubt in the minds of the jury. Yet, we're getting bogged down in the weeds a little bit. The answer's a little confusing. Let's see how this turns out.
Okay.
You may.
Yes, this is the cross-examination. So this is defense questioning the spatter guy.
You mind if I take that out of there?
No, go for it.
Oh, look, we'd like to present this as an exhibit. They're labeling it.
Oh, yeah.
Showing it to the prosecution. They knew exactly what was in his book. They already knew, I think. Always on the go. Jensen trial was a little too spicy, so we've dialed it back to just a triple murder trial.
That you found on the firearm, it states exhibit number 14, but I've marked as defendant's exhibit G. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And you could have done the same sort of overlay onto the firearm with this particular print too, in terms of where you found it.
Oh, yes.
Your Honor, I move for admission of defendant's exhibit G.
Any objection? All right, defendant's exhibit G is admitted.
And I think you already testified that there was enough rich detail there that you thought you had about 10 points of identification.
Roughly maybe 8 to 10, plus or minus.
Well, if you'd have done the same analysis on this print that you did on the other 2, we would know that, right? I mean, with the little blue lines. Remember when you did that with the other 2 prints?
Yes.
You could have done that with this one too.
Yes, I did that while I was matched that up to the known print.
Because you had a known print to match it up to, that's why you did that analysis.
Yes.
But you could also, at least as far as this print goes, you can identify a number of places on that print in order to make a comparison to another print, right?
I guess, yeah, the same technique could have been done to show the data points, as we might want to say, on a print like this. Yes.
Now, when you submit a print into the database, does it constantly check for you, or do you have to resubmit it every time you want the computer to take another crack at it?
It can work both ways.
Well, when you submit it into the Iowa database, does it constantly keep checking against Iowa offenders or people with fingerprints in Iowa, or do you have to resubmit it?
It can be done both ways. There's an option to select which way you want it to be searched in the database.
And which way did you do it in this case?
This one, I believe, is still open for searching in the database.
But you're not sure of that.
Well, I no longer work there, so I don't have the ability to check that.
Understood. When did you stop working for the state of Iowa?
October
Okay.
of 2022.
And when did you start working in the crime scene unit?
January of 2020.
And again, you're not sure that you submitted this to the federal database at all, are you?
I'm fairly confident, but I don't have that notated in my reports to officially confirm that.
I mean, you authored a number of reports in this case, right?
Yes.
And you detailed what you did in those cases,
Yes.
on those occasions, right?
Yes.
And there's nowhere in your report that you submitted late number 3 to the federal database, is there?
That's correct.
You looked at that before you came here to testify today.
Yes.
So it was obviously something that was on your mind.
Yes, all my reports, the whole case, were.
So that is at least some evidence that someone else was in that house, isn't it?
I couldn't say that at all, actually.
Doesn't mean they're in the house. It means at some point they touched the gun.
All right. Now, we talked a little bit about DNA evidence, and you would agree that that's important, would you not?
Correct.
And, I mean, that's lab evidence, right? It's scientific,
Oh, yes.
and it helps you solve crimes, doesn't it?
Yes.
And so that's why you swab items for DNA.
Yes.
There's a lot of different kinds of sources for DNA, aren't there?
Yes.
You can get DNA from blood, right?
Yes.
You can get it from saliva.
Yes.
You can get it from sweat.
Yes, I believe so.
You can even touch items and leave DNA, right?
Yes.
We talked about that in the last case that you and I had together. You remember that?
Yes.
And every time you touch something, you might leave some DNA on it, right?
Yes.
And even though it's a small quantity of DNA, it might be detectable, right?
Yes, potentially detectable.
Right. You might develop a profile
Potentially.
that you can compare to other people.
Potentially, yes.
Now, you testified that there were 3 rounds that were found inside this firearm. Is that right?
Correct.
And it sounds like it's the state's position that this firearm had to be reloaded at some point, correct?
Yes.
Because there were 13 shell casings, I think 13 or 14 shell casings, and there was 3 rounds in the gun, right?
Yes.
And your testimony was it only holds, did you say 11 or 12?
11.
Okay. And that's because you looked that up on the Browning website.
Correct.
All right. Now, so the 3 bullets in that gun that you found, completely protected by the gun itself, right?
Yes.
They're inside that gun, right?
Yes.
They had to have been loaded by the shooter, right?
Yes.
If the state's theory is correct, that this firearm had to be reloaded, right?
Yes.
So those 3 bullets inside that gun are incredibly important, are they not?
Yes.
Because you're not going to get DNA off a bullet that's already traveled through somebody else's body. You're just going to get that person's DNA, right?
Yes.
Not going to get DNA off a shell casing probably that has been fired and ejected.
I don't know about that. I think there's studies out there, so I couldn't say one way or
Okay,
another with
all right.
fired casings.
But in the act of firing a bullet, that creates a significant amount of heat inside that chamber, right?
Yes, I think there would be a high potential for something to be disturbed in that process.
You wouldn't want to catch a shell casing coming out of that just came out of a gun, right?
It burns a little bit.
Burns a little bit.
Stings.
Sounds like that might have happened to you.
Frequently at the police range, yes.
Okay. All right. So probably not going to get a DNA sample off of that, right?
I suppose the probability is a little bit, again, I can't necessarily state one way or another.
So it might be worth testing even shell casings for DNA.
Potentially, yes. I think the technology exists, but I don't know how far advanced we've become in testing fired casings yet.
Going back to the 3 bullets that had not been fired, that remained inside this gun, when did you swab those for DNA?
I did not.
It sounds like you swabbed a lot of this gun for DNA. Is that right?
That is correct.
Not just the items that were submitted to the DCI that we've already heard about,
The gun belonged to the father.
which was the
Who was
ammo
deceased.
box, right? And the trigger area, correct?
Yes.
And the breech block, right?
Yes.
And the loading port, correct?
Correct.
And the magazine tube, right?
Yes.
All those things that are in State's Exhibit 152, you did more swabbing than that, didn't you?
Yes.
In a subsequent swab of this firearm, you swabbed the grooves on the front end of the underbarrel charging handle, right?
Grooves.
Yes.
You also took a swab from what is known as the barrel lock, right?
Yes.
That's that part on the top of the gun that you turn, I assume, so that you can
It's
take the
actually
gun
on the
apart.
bottom. But yeah.
Correct.
You swab from around the front sight.
Or maybe
Yes.
okay, lock
You
stop.
swab from the barrel
It's like a
adjusting
latch.
ring, right?
Yes. Yes.
You swab from the top and bottom of the wooden stock.
Yes.
And then you wrote 3 live rounds were discovered loaded in the rifle, right?
Yes.
The charging handle was pulled back to make visible the rounds in the chamber, correct?
Correct.
A photo was taken of the first round located in the chamber area. We saw that photo, right?
I can
Yes.
When the
I
charging
can pause it
handle
for a second and give you an
breech block
update
was
if that
pulled
works.
back,
Let
correct?
me do that. Okay, well, let me pause just for a second so we can give you guys a quick update. We'll catch up in just a minute. We are following, this is the new trial today. We're following the Alexander Jackson murder trial. Sorry, the name is new for me here. Alexander Jackson murder trial. He is being charged with shooting his mom, dad, and his sister with his dad's .22 rifle. It was a Browning .22 rifle. It has some unique features about it as far as it's different than some other models. And we're talking about DNA here. His story is that an intruder came in and shot everybody, shot him in the foot. He was able to get the gun, or the intruder left the gun and left him alive. The state's saying that he shot everybody and then shot himself in the foot, and then called 911 and said it was an intruder. So that's where we're at. This is in Iowa, and this is the suspect is 22 years old now. He was 20 when it happened. His sister was 19. Don't know the ages of his parents.
Yes.
These 3 rounds were immediately placed into an evidence paper bag for potential future processing, right?
Yes.
You even went as far as to say no handling of the 3 live rounds was done.
Yes.
That is a potential source of DNA, correct?
Yes.
And it would show who loaded those bullets if DNA could be found, right?
Yes, DNA found on that could definitely indicate that for sure.
And if the state's theory is correct that this gun had to be reloaded, that would prove who the shooter was, would it not?
That would definitely assist.
I haven't heard where they found that
Well, you don't
last
think
unidentified
it
print.
was a 2-person job, do you?
No.
Okay. Then you took a DNA swab from the loading port edges on the right side of the stock, right?
Yes.
And then you took a DNA swab from the magazine tube end on the end of the stock, right?
Yes.
And you took a DNA swab taken from the end of the barrel, right?
Yes.
Which would show, potentially, how close the firearm might have been
Thanks, Han.
to any of these people that got shot. If there were DNA would end up on the muzzle, right?
I don't know that a DNA result would actually be able to show a distance.
Not the distance, but there's a reason why you swabbed that muzzle, right?
Yes,
Because you thought maybe you might find DNA on there.
correct.
And what did you do with all of those swabs that are listed on that report?
They were all entered into evidence.
And when did they get sent to the DCI for testing?
So only the ones on the DCI report were sent off to test.
So the bullets never got swabbed.
No,
And the rest of those items that I read off didn't get sent to the DCI for testing. Is that
correct.
right?
That is correct.
Now, do you still have that firearm nearby?
I do.
Okay. Now, you testified that, in your opinion, that's the firearm that shot these people at the Oakleaf residence, right?
Yes,
That was your opinion, and that's because you entered some shell casings in the NIBIN system, right?
yes. 2 casings were submitted for entry into NIBIN.
And these casings were casings that were taken from the crime scene, right?
One of those casings was, yes.
Well, it looks like there's 2 Remington casings on here.
Yes, if we're referring to the NIBIN report, one of the casings was actually the test-fired casing that we would have taken during our test fires that was entered into NIBIN.
All right. Anyway, Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Anyway,
I want to hand you what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit A.
the defendant was an adult. He's over 18. He may have had access to the gun safe.
Yes,
And that report references one of the shell casings found from the scene, does it not? It describes it.
yes, it does.
And it describes it as a .22 short, does it not?
22 short. I thought they were long rifle. I will say I'm a little distracted. Amber Vixen has sent
It
me
does
a,
on this report,
a document
yes.
drop in
All right. In
the
fact,
BK
all of the
case.
casings on that report are
So
described
I'm
as
reading.
shorts, are they not?
I'm reading some documents out of Washington, searches that were done up there. So I'm a little bit between here and that at the same time, looking for some new information.
They are.
Now, does that .22 Browning rifle, is that capable of firing .22 shorts?
No. Well, firing, yes. Cycling, no.
I believe it is, yes.
All right. And so, isn't it true
I don't think that's true.
that if they were long rifle shells, it holds 11, right?
Oh.
Yes.
If they are short rifle shells, it holds more than 11, does it not?
In theory, I guess, yes.
There'd be more room for more shells, right?
Correct.
It works like a stapler, sort of, doesn't it? You pull out that tube, it's got the little springy thing on the end, and then you just keep feeding in bullets until it fills up, right?
Correct, yeah.
And then you put that tube back in. I'd like to call it like a stapler, because that's the spring that keeps the bullets moving through the semi-automatic process, right?
Yes.
All right. So how many bullets does that Browning rifle hold if it's 22 shorts instead of 22 longs?
I do
Doesn't
not
know.
know the answer to that.
But it would be more than 11, would it not?
Yes.
I would move, Your Honor, for admission of Defendant's Exhibit. I believe that's A.
You did mark it A.
Yes,
Any
it's-
objection?
It's got a tube,
All right, then,
tube-style magazine
Defendant's Exhibit A is
loaded
admitted.
from the rear of the gun, the butt of the gun.
Oh, yes, right.
Okay, Micah, I'm reading it right now. It's a 97-page document that Amber sent me from Washington. It has some statements by officers that I'm trying to read while we're focusing on that. There's a lot of stuff in here that we'll have to unpack.
And has not yet been confirmed by microscopic comparison, right?
Correct.
However, the potential that the same firearm was involved in your investigation is significant enough that investigative follow-up is warranted at this time should an investigator choose to pursue it.
Correct.
You didn't pursue that.
I'm with you, Mac. I don't think a short would cycle the same. You can fire a 22 short from any 22 long rifle, but would the action on a semi-automatic feed a short like it should a long?
You're asking Mr. Rosenberg to do that?
I'm asking if it's okay with you first.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Do you mind?
No, you're fine.
What's he doing? He's going to have him load the gun now
You don't have another
with 22 shorts?
chance, do you, Monica?
Oh, that's
It'll work. I got it. It's on there halfway.
You may.
He wants a new glove.
Thank you.
Read the chat. What chat? What am I missing, Patty? Fill us in on the info. I'm looking at the info. I'm trying to find it myself. I've got 97 pages to go through as I'm trying to follow both. I've got a statement from Dustin Blaker,
Yes,
Sergeant Dustin
we're-
Blaker, who is
We're on the right side of the weapon, the rifle, so it would be
with Moscow Police Department. So
more
I'm just
back
trying to read
right
that.
around this section right here,
Right where you load.
kind of like right between where it goes in and the crease of the buttstock right here.
Okay, so you're indicating, just for the record, to the front end of the back end of the firearm, but the front end of where you load the bullets in.
Correct.
What's that called? The part, the buttstock? Is
The
that what it's
buttstock,
called?
yes, that would be one phrase.
And that's
I don't know
here,
what to
this
search
hole
for. I need to know what to
is where
search for
the bullet
first.
goes. Is that right?
Yes,
After you remove that thing out of the back.
yes.
Now, when you demonstrated for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury with your hands where you found Mr. Jackson's prints on that gun, you're not saying that those prints were left there at the same time, are you?
No.
But they could have.
Potentially, yes.
And if they would, no.
BK is Brian Koberger in Idaho. The Idaho murders trial. There's just a document dump there.
Hands on either side of the back here.
It's you could if you wanted to.
How many times have you shot a rifle?
That would be different than your typical way to pull it in a traditional style.
How many
Yes.
times have you shot a rifle like this?
I don't know if I ever have, to be honest.
Okay. Well, you wouldn't, would you?
Not typically, no.
You wouldn't be able to hit anything like that, would you?
No, it'd be inefficient.
If you were trying to shoot yourself in the foot, you certainly wouldn't hold a gun like that, would you?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
In other words, there's no prints of Mr. Jackson were found on this part of the firearm, were they?
I can't see what point
you're
Mr.
right.
Johnson pointed to. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I apologize. The front, right here, on the front of the, what do you call this part right here?
The fore-end grip is
The
how I
fore-end?
refer to it as.
The forend grip. You didn't find any prints there.
Correct.
Thank you. I'm done with the firearm now. Thank you. Now, one reason you might grip a gun like that.
I'm sorry. Do you need to be up here for this?
I was going to.
All right.
Judge is like, please go sit down.
I was going to demonstrate something, Your Honor, but I can do it from over here. One reason you might grip a gun like that is if you're pulling on it. Would you agree with that? If both prints were left at the same time, it would be an action like this. You compared it to swinging a golf club. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
But it would also be consistent with somebody who was engaged in a kind of tug of war with that weapon.
That'd be correct. Accurate statement, yes.
In the, I guess, the 2.5 years that you were a crime scene investigator, how many homicide crime scenes did you work in that
Thank you,
period of
Gold
time?
Mom.
I'd say over 15.
Okay. How many of those were firearms cases?
A majority of them, I would say.
And how many times have you witnessed somebody being shot?
Physically seen the act take place?
Yes.
Like live, you're asking?
Like real, yeah.
None.
All right. Because you gave an opinion about blowback and how much blood comes back when somebody gets shot.
Okay.
But you haven't actually seen that happen, have you?
Yes, I believe my opinion was that it just is a possibility, but yes, I've never seen.
Because he's never seen it happen anyway. Okay, I'm going to stop for just a second. Sorry, actually, I'm going to go back.
To the hospital.
Gonna
You
pause
remember
and
that on
stop.
June 15th, right?
Okay, so let me pause. We have some news that I wanted to share here. I realize we're jumping around a little bit, and I take full credit for the squirrel effect that's in effect here. Golden Mom, Vixen, where we got some documents out of Superior Court, Whitman County, Washington. 97 pages. We're just scanning through now. Golden Mom just sent me a screenshot of one of the pages. I don't remember the number. I think it's on page like 40 or something, that shows some of the items that were seized from the residence. This is from BK's residence. The individual, Brian Koberger, who was accused of killing those 4 college students up in Moscow, Idaho. They're showing that on the 29th of December, they served, or they issued the warrant on the 29th of December. They served on the 30th of December, and they seized items from his residence at WSU PD, and it's stored at WSU PD. 1 nitrate type black glove, 1 Walmart receipt with one Dickies bag or tag, sorry. 2 Marshall's receipts. 4 dust container with Bissell Power Force vacuum. 5 8 possible hair strands. 6 1 Fire TV stick with red cord / plug. 7 1 possible animal hair strand. 8 1 possible hair. 9 1 possible hair. 10 1 possible hair. 11 1 possible hair strand. 12 1 computer tower. And then A was 1 collection of dark red spot collected without testing. B 2 cuttings from an uncased pillow of reddish brown stain, larger stain tested. And C 2 top and bottom mattress cover packaged separately, both labeled C multiple stains, 1 tested. That's I just wanted to give you that. That's things that they have collected. So we're going to go back to this trial, but things are happening in the Golden Mom's sending me more. Let's see. There's the full link. Okay, I've got the full document already, but we're going to go back to this trial. Just wanted to let you know that things were happening in the BK case, and the gag order is not holding very tight.
Correct.
You were there. I think you got there ahead of Mr. Jackson. Is that right?
Yes.
And you were there to take photographs
Yes.
and to swab Mr. Jackson, right?
Yes.
For potential evidence that might have been on Mr. Jackson,
Correct.
to see if there was any DNA on him.
Yes.
And you did those things, right?
Yes.
You took the pictures, right?
Yes.
And you swabbed his hands for DNA,
Yes.
right? Swabbed his leg,
Yes.
swabbed other parts of his body.
Yes.
And when did those swabs get submitted to the DCI lab for testing?
They did not.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, they did not get submitted.
This would be indicative of him having an injury, possibly, Sunshine Sunflowers.
Well, you took pictures of all those swabs, right?
Correct.
Made sure to mark them. Blood swab AJ1, right?
Yes.
AJ2,
Yes.
that was another part. And you had this whole report done of all the places that you swabbed Mr. Jackson. Is that right?
Correct.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
He's going to do the same thing. Open up in your notes, take the page out, and we're going to submit it as evidence.
Defendant's Exhibit C, and ask you if you could look through that for a second.
Pete Cooper, we just stopped and read the items they seized from his apartment. We'll probably talk about that in a separate show. Maybe a little short video. We'll see. We're trying to focus on one thing at a time. I'm trying to really cut down on my squirrel moments, but we'll see. Type of ammo for the gun. Let me look at that.
Would those pictures fairly and accurately represent the areas that you swabbed on Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd move for admission of Defendant's Exhibit C.
Any objection? All right, then, without objection, Defendant's Exhibit C is admitted.
So Tom just sent me
And you didn't submit any of those swabs to the DCI for testing?
Correct.
Okay. Tom just sent me a page out of the owner's manual for the gun that's in question in this case. And he's highlighted in here. So thank you very much, Tom, for that. He says, the SA-22, which is the model they're talking about, must be used only with 22 long rifle rimfire ammunition as designated on the barrel. The magazine is designed to hold 11 22 long rifle cartridges. So this whole 22 short thing is a nothing burger.
Submitted.
Even though there's clearly blood in all of those areas?
Yes.
And blood in one of those areas might indicate that it came from one of the victims of this offense, would it not?
It's possible, yes.
Or the blood might indicate that it came from the intruder that Mr. Jackson was struggling with.
If that blood existed, potentially.
Okay, that's the first time he's potentially said there could be an intruder.
But you didn't submit it.
No.
That's a triple homicide case, right?
Yes.
Very important case.
Yes.
And at the start, you agreed with me that thorough police work convicts the guilty, and it also protects the innocent, does it not?
Yes.
Did you not want to know what was on those swabs?
That's not necessarily a decision that I always get to make solely by myself on what items get sent to the state lab.
Did somebody tell you not to submit those?
No, these investigations, I'm not the only one investigating these. I'm just one cog in the whole investigation. So I do the front end work, and then investigation as a whole, including the commanders and lead investigators, will put all the information together and kind of make a decision on what they would like to send into the lab.
But why wouldn't you send in something like that?
I don't know.
Now, you testified that Mr. Jackson didn't have any defensive wounds. Remember when you answered that question with Ms. Slaughter?
Yes.
You were taking these pictures while he was in his hospital room, right?
Correct.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
I don't think it would cycle properly because of the length of the round. It's built to feed and aim. It basically aims the bullet from the magazine into the chamber. And if the bullet is too short, that aim will be off and it will jam. It will turn sideways or something like that. I don't think you can use a 22 short in there. I mean, it might even be dangerous, Tom, just a heads up. It might be dangerous because they're rimfire. If the bullet jams and it with enough force, it could fire without being chambered.
Would that fairly and accurately depict the way he looked that day when you saw him?
Yes.
Move for admission of Defendant's Exhibit B, Your Honor.
Any objection, Ms. Slaughter? Then Defendant's Exhibit B is admitted.
When you saw Alexander Jackson, he was bleeding from the foot, right?
Yes.
Actively bleeding.
Yes.
And he was on a gurney, right?
Hospital bed, yes.
Okay, sure. And he had a hospital gown on?
Yes.
And he had, looks like, underwear on in that picture?
Yes.
Right. And when you say that Mr. Jackson didn't have any defensive wounds, you didn't clean him up, did you?
No.
You wouldn't have done that in an emergency room.
No.
Right. And so you didn't clean the blood off him to see if he had any injuries on his hands?
Correct, yeah, the blood was there the whole time I was there.
or on his legs.
Correct.
You didn't take his gown off of him, right?
No.
You didn't flip him over on his back to see if he had any injuries to his back.
No.
But he did have one. He did have one very obvious injury to his foot.
Correct.
Did you notice any stippling or soot deposits on Mr. Jackson's foot?
I guess I don't know how to answer that. I saw the injury. The injury was discolored from the injury, but how to classify that, I guess I don't know.
I'm just asking if you saw it or you didn't see it.
No, nothing obvious like that.
Did you check under his fingernails? Did you do any scrapings of those to see if anybody's DNA was under there?
Other than swabs of the hands, no, I didn't do any fingernail scrapings.
But that isn't another investigative technique, correct?
It is, yes, a technique, yes.
Well, it's done pretty frequently, isn't it?
More so on the deceased.
But you can scrape the nails of the living.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All you got to do is you just got to ask first, right?
Yes,
All right. And his feet were bare, were they not?
they were.
That's the way he came into the emergency room.
Yes.
Did you notice whether he had been scalded or burned on his feet by any hot shell casings that might have come out of that gun?
I didn't observe any marks like that.
And you did say that the gun ejects the shell casings straight down, right?
Yeah, straight down and slightly forward is what we found it to eject.
You wouldn't want to shoot that gun barefooted, would you?
I mean, it might burn, but it's, from my experience with hot shell casings, they sting a little bit, but they don't. Other than that,
It's not like it's a red hot poker or something.
terrible.
They're just
Might leave a mark, though.
down the shirt. They'll get your attention. Like
Can't
a,
actually
like
say
a
if they
wasp.
would or not.
Because you haven't been dumb enough to shoot a gun like that barefooted.
If I refer to all the times at the range when I've had hot brass go down the back of my shirt, I don't ever remember seeing markings, but it wasn't the first thing I was looking for either. So
Kind of hurts, doesn't it? Those are some big feet, too, aren't they?
I guess
He's not a foot guy.
That's okay.
How he
I
answers this one.
don't know how to answer that.
All right, that's fine. Now, kind of as an investigator, you got to make a decision, don't you, when you get something like that firearm? You got to make a decision where to swab and where to look for fingerprints, right?
Yes.
And that's because when you swab for DNA, you can destroy fingerprints.
Yes.
And there's the potential when you superglue fume of something, you might destroy DNA.
I think the potential exists for that to happen.
Because you swabbed the gun first, right, for DNA.
Yes.
And then you checked for prints after that.
Correct.
So any places that you swabbed might have disturbed fingerprints.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that. That's just a choice you have to make, right?
Correct.
An investigative choice you have to make. But not everything that somebody touches leaves detectable DNA, does it?
Correct.
And not everything that somebody touches leaves fingerprints either.
Correct.
And when you dusted the door, the back door, you found ridge detail, did you not? It was just insufficient? Or did you not find any?
I'd have to review my report. We didn't find anything that was substantial that turned in anything. I don't remember if we found any signs of ridge detail that would have been insignificant or not, but I know the end result was nothing suitable came from that process.
Okay. And you did not find any of the victim's DNA on Alexander Jackson throughout this entire investigation, did you?
So the only items we'd sent in from him were some clothing items, and only his DNA came back on those.
I'm sorry? None of his, you didn't find any victim's DNA anywhere on Alexander Jackson, did you?
On the samples that we tested, no.
Yeah. Not on his clothes?
Correct. On the areas that the lab tested, they did not find that, no.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Most guns that are semi-automatic have potential to leave gunpowder residue on your hand.
And ask you if you can identify those.
Yes.
And what are those?
These are photographs of the shirt that Alexander had been wearing.
Your Honor, move for admission of defendant's exhibits D and E.
D and E?
I don't know.
Yes,
I don't know if they did a
and E as in
GSR.
Edward.
They said they swabbed him.
Any
but
objection?
I'm not sure if it was for DNA
All right,
or for
then,
gunshot residue.
Defendant's exhibits D and E are admitted.
Yet this guy's, I think, done a poor job on testifying.
That's
but
the
it
shirt
may
that
be,
Mr. Jackson was wearing on the day in question, right?
on redirect. They might be able to
You
rescue
didn't
a lot of
find
it.
any victim DNA on that blood on that shirt anywhere, did you?
Yeah, according to the DCI report, no.
Because that was submitted to the DCI,
Yes.
right? And according to the DCI report, you didn't find Mr. Jackson's DNA on the ammo box either, did you?
There was no, no DNA was discovered in the samples we sent, or insufficient data. DNA was located.
So you didn't find it on the trigger area of the rifle either,
Correct.
or the breech block,
Yes.
or the loading port,
Correct.
or the magazine tube.
Correct.
This is a detective.
Not on his gray cargo shorts, right?
I would have to double check the report. I remember DNA coming back in the clothing, but I,
Well, if I told you it was his gray cargo shorts, would you trust me on that?
yes.
And nothing came back on that, right?
Yeah, if that's what the report shows.
And or the red polo or his red polo shirt, right?
Other than his DNA, you're saying yes.
Other than his DNA.
Correct.
That's right.
Oh,
Sorry.
yes. Yeah, no.
Other than Alex's DNA.
Correct.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness again?
You may.
Hey, Ivan. We're doing great today. Good to have you here. He's a crime scene tech or an investigator, but he has a surprising lack of knowledge about firearms. He did prepare. He's left the employment back in October.
Yes, this is a picture of the basement living room over by the fireplace, looking come back towards the entry door.
And does that show a number of rounds of ammunition on the fireplace?
Yes.
And they're all sort of spread out on there?
Yes.
And does that also show the paper towels that may or may not have been used to clean this firearm?
Yes.
All right. And you were asked a question by Ms. Slaughter about whether you could tell if anything had been moved down there in the basement. You remember that question?
Yes.
And I mean, obviously those bullets have been moved. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
All right. And I also asked you this question in deposition, whether any items had been moved in the crime scene, and you told me that it's not always easy to tell when things have been moved. Remember when you told me that?
Yes.
And with respect to the furniture in this case, Ms. Slaughter asked you about impressions in the carpet, whether or not you could check to see if the furniture had been moved, because they always leave those little, nodules in the carpet where they were.
Yes.
You didn't check that, did you?
No, the furniture appeared to be in a normal position.
But so you didn't check to see whether they had been shifted slightly forward or anything like that?
Yes, we didn't. Eventually they were tipped over, but I don't remember checking the exact location of the carpet marks, but we did that.
And you don't know what the original position of the furniture was before you got in there?
Technically speaking, no.
Can we,
Jim Bob, that's some serious accuracy
I'd have to
with the
ask the
slingshot.
state
That's
to
awesome.
do this. Can we put up,
Tag, I did get it. I watched most of it, and I got a phone call, so I haven't seen the whole thing.
picture 72, Exhibit 72, please? I'm only asking because she already said she would do it.
Light lady, here we
very
go.
kind of you.
There you go. Thank you. Turn down the lights. Oh, no. Turn down for what? I think that's what it's supposed to be.
We have to reboot the system real quick, which means the mics are off as well.
Which means the mics are off as well. Debbie's moving through the front row. Watch your feet. This witness is trying very hard to not do something that would hurt the case for the prosecution. I think he would do a lot better if he just answered the questions directly instead of trying to find a way around answering some of the questions,
There, but it's not on
and then
these
let
two monitors
prosecution,
anymore.
address everything on the redirect.
All right.
Thanks for the update, Weather Watch, on the docs. I think the part we read about the BK
All right,
seizure,
Mr.
that's
Johnson.
the only new information, really.
Thank you. Can you see that all right, Mr. Bosenberg?
Yes.
Okay. And do you see in the foreground of State's Exhibit 72 that bloody patch right there on the carpeting? Number 12 is?
We might have
Yes.
some pictures here. Hang on.
And is number 12 a shell casing? Or maybe number 13?
I believe number 13 was a shell casing, number 12 was a live round.
Okay, thank you. And I'm looking at that picture. Would you say that that is consistent with somebody who got shot there and then went down that hallway down into Mr. Jackson's room? Do you see the bloody footprints that go in that direction?
Yes.
Okay. So that would be consistent with somebody who got shot there and went down to Mr. Jackson's bedroom.
I suppose that would be one explanation of it.
Well, let me ask you a different question. Have you seen the videos from the police officers before you got to the scene?
I watched one clip initially during this investigation, but I didn't watch all of the clips, no.
So maybe you can recall that Mr. Jackson, when they first came in, was found down by his room. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
And there was only one bloody trail at that time, if you can recall, going down to the hallway. You remember that?
I don't.
Do you remember Mr. Jackson making his way back up towards his father?
From the clip I watched, I remember seeing Mr. Jackson in the hallway, kind of at the end of the hallway.
All right. So it's at least consistent with somebody getting shot there and then moving down the hallway. Is one possible explanation for that bloody trail, right?
Yes.
I don't know the actual time for this trial. Not sure what the time frame is. They have dimmed the lights. They're showing a presentation in the courtroom as they're showing different pictures of the crime scene, and the feed is not showing us that right now.
Thank you. I think that's all I had for that picture.
Aziz, lights.
And then you've already testified that in Mr. Jackson's bedroom, you found a broken belt buckle and a broken belt, right?
Yes.
And that would be consistent with somebody who tried to apply a tourniquet to their foot, right?
Yes.
And there was also some other blood in that room that could have been left there as a result of that process, right?
Yes.
some blood that Ms. Slaughter pointed out on the bed and at the bottom of the bed.
Hey, Chandra, we did cover this
Because putting on a
just a
tourniquet
little bit.
would probably
The
cause
seized
blood to
items
spurt,
were what's
would it
new in
not?
there, and we covered that.
Yes.
And there were no
Interesting.
shell casings found in Mr. Jackson's bedroom, were there?
No.
Oh, man. That's a lot of damage, Michelle.
Now I want to ask you a few questions about these cameras. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So there were cameras at the Jackson house,
Yes.
the Ring cameras, right?
Yes.
And the cameras were on, right?
I don't know if they were or not.
Okay. Well, there you were able to obtain video from the front door camera, right?
I'm not aware of that portion of the investigation. I didn't do that portion of that.
Okay. You didn't have anything to do with viewing any of the cameras?
No, I didn't review any of that camera footage.
You didn't have anything to do with, but you did process the Ring camera from the back.
Correct.
All right, let's stick with that then. So you did take the Ring camera from the backyard,
Yes, from the back porch on the upper level.
on the upper level on the railing.
Yes.
And that camera had a battery in it, right?
Yes.
It was a wireless camera.
Correct.
And you tested the battery, right?
Yes.
The battery had a charge in it.
Yes.
And you even went so far as to have an officer walk in front of that camera to test when the motion detectors would come on, right?
Correct.
And what was the result of your test?
The results I believe we got back is that it wasn't recording during that section. I don't remember hearing any results back from our experiment we did because we didn't know if the camera was on or not on at that point.
The reason I ask is because there isn't anything in your reports that said you ever got any information back.
Yes.
So you don't know what the result of that experiment was.
Correct. Yes. We weren't the ones following up with the video.
But you are at least aware that the cameras in the front and the camera in the garage showed the police activity that day.
I wouldn't even be able to answer that question. I really didn't get many updates on the video process.
Well, isn't the reason you did that experiment with the back camera was because there was some issue with that back camera's motion detector?
No, the reason we'd done that was to see what the camera might be able to pick up at different areas of the backyard, because cameras have different settings and sensitivity settings on how much motion it picks up. So we ran a few tests in case the camera was on, not knowing at that time if it was or not.
And you don't know what the results of that were?
No.
All right, so you're not aware of whether or not it showed Mr. Jackson the night before, just walking back up into his screened-in porch?
I don't know the answer to that. I didn't receive any information
I think
on.
he's an investigator.
And you don't know what the calibration was of when that camera would pick up motion at all?
No, I didn't follow up with that aspect of the investigation.
So, you know, the camera shows the whole backyard, but it's motion activated, right?
I know those cameras have the potential, but I don't have any details on how these cameras operated.
You didn't find any evidence that that camera had been tampered with, did you?
No, there's nothing to suggest that.
And you did not find Mr. Jackson's prints on that camera, did you?
Correct, no prints were found on that camera.
Did the echo go away, Monica?
You also obtained Mr. Jackson's cell phone records, correct?
I did not personally. I don't believe that was my area of investigation on this case.
You didn't get the search warrant for his cell phone records?
I don't believe I did, no.
So you're not aware of what showed up on his phone and what didn't?
No.
Or what showed up on his computer or what didn't?
No.
And we did see already there was blankets on the screened-in porch, right?
Yes, we did.
And that would be consistent with somebody who had slept there.
Yes.
Did you do any research into what the temperature was that day on June 15th of 2021?
No, nothing that I documented.
Or the high or the low of that day?
No, I did not.
Getting back to this issue about whether anything had been moved in the house, you are aware that someone came down those stairs, Mr. Jackson, was shot and fell, right?
Yes.
And your theory is that he came down those stairs and fell forward at the bottom of them.
Yes.
And yet, that didn't move anything in the house, did it?
Did not appear so, no.
You may.
They're scoring major points here. You've got a witness who's not doing a good job on the stand, and they're going to try to ask him about everything they possibly can, even if it's not directly related to what he did, just because it makes them look better. I think the prosecution is basically saying this to the judge right now, saying, hey, they need to focus on the things he knows about and has testified, and not just everything else that he hasn't worked on.
I'm sorry, by Mr. Jackson, I meant Jan Jackson coming down the stairs. Sorry if I confused you. And, Your Honor, at this time, we'd offer Defendant's Exhibit F.
Debbie, I think that's all she does.
Do you need to see it again?
Yes. I don't think I have an objection to it. I'm just not sure what that was.
The camera.
Oh, yes.
The camera information basically is
All right.
information that would show if there was an
Defendant's Exhibit
intruder,
F
or
is admitted.
possibly why the camera did not pick up the intruder coming in or leaving the building.
Throughout that entire house, there are photographs of that family, right?
Yes.
And you noticed that when you went through it.
Yes.
Photos of the Jackson family all throughout the years,
Yes.
right? Photos of Alex and Sabrina with their parents on vacations.
Yes.
Photos of them, posed photos, like the old Olin Mills photos. You probably don't remember that.
Olin Mills is a
But-
brand of photography.
A lot of photos of
outfit.
the family, right?
Yes.
It
A
was
lot
like
of photos of the kids.
it was stage. It was like, I was going to say glamour shots for families, but my family did them as a kid. Got Olin Mills pictures.
I noticed on one of your reports, it was a receipt, I think, from evidence that came back from the medical examiner's office. And do you recall getting back all of the evidence from those autopsies?
Yes.
There was, on Sabrina Jackson's autopsy evidence, under personal effects, it says earplug.
Yes.
Was she wearing earplugs that night?
One was found during the autopsy. I don't remember observing that while we were on scene at the time, but it was discovered, yes, during the autopsy.
Is that an earplug or an earbud?
It looked like a noise canceling earplug.
Okay. Well, people wouldn't just wear one of those, would they?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
With respect to the loudness of this firearm, do you have equipment at the Cedar Rapids Police Department to test how loud a particular gun might be?
We inquired about that, but I did not believe that we had the equipment to be able to test something like that.
So you didn't have a decibel meter?
No, we had at one point, but I don't even know if that would give you a value reading on a gunshot. I believe the decimal meter we used to have, and I don't even know if it It was an old one. Was more for sustained noise.
So there weren't any experiments conducted by you or any other members of the Cedar Rapids Police Department, to your knowledge, in the home.
I love the liquor
about
store updates.
whether or
Ivan.
not that firearm could be heard throughout the house.
That's correct. Yes,
Okay,
I did.
let me just
do
say,
those
22
experiments.
22
In other
rifles
words,
shooting
nobody
this.
fired it in the basement and tried to figure out how loud it would have been on the porch.
It would be very loud in a house.
Correct.
Outside, if you're out in the open without any walls or anything around, like if you're out in a field and shooting, you could probably get away with shooting it without ear protection. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's one of the quieter
When you
guns.
went through the house, did you notice an alarm system there?
There was a sensor up in the main living room, but I don't know if that was part of an alarm system. I don't recall seeing any other type of system.
You didn't see anything like an alarm system that had been ripped from the wall?
No.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
I want to hand you what I have marked as.
Yes.
An alarm system ripped from the wall. This is a smoking gun for the defense, if I've ever seen one.
I hand you what I marked as Defendant's Exhibit H and ask you if you can identify that.
Yes, this is a picture taken of the backyard.
There's a lawsuit.
Is that an accurate representation of what the backyard looks like?
Yes.
Move for admission of Defendant's Exhibit H, Your Honor.
Any objection?
They want to see it first.
Sure. You want to turn on your microphone, please? Yeah, you're fine.
Investigator Bosenberg, looking at the exhibit Mr. Johnston just handed to you, are you able to tell from which vantage point that photograph is taken?
Yes, I believe just from reviewing the photos previously, that this was taken from the master bedroom balcony, kind of near where the camera on that balcony would have been located.
No additional questions and no objection, Your Honor.
All right. Then at this time, Defendant's Exhibit H is admitted.
Did you conduct a search of the outside of the house, the backyard?
I did look around in the backyard at certain portions of my time there, yes.
All right, and how much time did you devote to search in the backyard?
That'd be hard to say. Majority of the time was spent inside of the residence. Definitely a small portion of the time was spent actually outside of the residence.
And I don't know if you remember me asking this in the deposition, but I gave you that example of how they search in the military where they get in the line and they just go straight down. That you guys didn't do that, right?
No, I was not a part of any like formalized line searching in the yard, no.
But you know what I'm talking about,
I'm gonna
where
pin a
everybody
note.
gets in the line and they go down and they pick up whatever's in front of them.
Yes,
All right. But you did just sort of a cursory check of the backyard.
yes,
You wouldn't call it a thorough search, would you?
no.
Just give me a second.
Apparently, he likes sleeping on the back porch from his Boy Scout days.
Did you have occasion to conduct a search for the bullet that would have gone through Alexander Jackson's foot?
So what was the, I didn't quite hear one of the words you said at the beginning of that question.
Sorry, I'm trying to do this microphone thing. Did you
I'll
conduct
get
a
you a
search
hoodie,
for the
Ivan.
bullet
I'll
that
make one available for you.
might have gone through
Let me
Alexander
build one.
Jackson's foot?
What color do you
Yes.
want the hoodie?
Did you find that bullet?
No.
You want like a white or a gray or
Did
a
you
black?
pull up the carpeting in that house?
We did in sections, yes.
Okay.
Do you want anything on the back, like a CSI type thing, or forensics, or just plain?
On one of your reports, you mentioned finding some gaming systems. Is that right?
Yes.
You found a Sony PS3, right?
Yes.
And a PS4,
Yes.
and an Xbox 360,
Yes.
and an Xbox One.
Yes.
You also found a brown plastic toolbox containing gun cleaning patched and a break-free gun cleaning canister,
Sounds good. I'll get on it, Ivan.
right?
I know you've been asking
Yes.
for the hoodie, so we'll get
And
that put
that's
together.
for a gun cleaning kit, right?
Yes.
It had the kinds of things in it that you were talking about with Ms. Slaughter.
Yes.
It had like a solvent in it, right?
Yes.
And some other cleaning materials.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Bosenberg. No further questions.
Thank you.
Ms. Slaughter, redirect. It's fine with me.
Brief break.
Doesn't make any sense to take shorter than 15 minutes, just so everybody has enough time. So we'll take 15 minutes, and hopefully this will be our mid-afternoon recess for the day. So I've got 2:35. I guess that'd be about 2:50. So I'd remind you again of the admonition that I've given you previously, and see you soon.
See you soon. Okay, so I don't see. I've been looking through this BK document. I don't think there's a lot more. I think all the information we shared, the good stuff we shared, and that was what they seized from his apartment. There is a tiny bit more data, but it doesn't really have any content that gives us additional information regarding the case. But this is interesting. Let's see, Bella. Next Addict Rally. A T-shirt with the logo of True Crime Addict on one side and Objection on the other. Ivan says, my dad owned a small market radio stations growing up, so I'm all about promotion. Thank you, Ivan. I can't wait to have Recovery Addict gear all over in your liquor store. I think that would be fantastic. Yeah, we can put a command for it, call it hoodie. Yeah, I'm trying to make we're trying to streamline the options. I'd love if we ever got to the 20,000 subscribers level, I'd love to be able to use YouTube directly so that you could just click on the screen and it would go straight to the link. So you didn't have to try to find it somewhere else. It would be a lot easier that way. But they won't let me do it until I have 20,000 subscribers. So each one of you is going to have to bring 4 friends. and then we'll get there. But what was the defense trying to establish? Grumpy Cat. Basically, they're trying to throw doubt in the minds of the jurors that, first of all, that there was somebody else in the house that could have been an intruder. That Alexander is saying that there was an intruder that shot his family and shot him in the foot. And so this intruder was the one who's responsible. It could have been his handprint on the gun, and it could have been his blood and everything that wasn't tested. The defense wants you to think that was the intruder's blood, that was the intruder's DNA, that was the intruder's fingerprints. So they're saying had you tested the 3 unspent cartridges that were in the .22 rifle when you recovered it, which you took into evidence, had you tested it, you would have had possibly had the intruder's DNA on it. All this would be information that would help them in their defense, but they're saying because the state did a poor job. And didn't test everything, and the state doesn't test everything. There's even in really big cases, the state does not test everything. It costs money. They have budgets. There's limited time. Sometimes even by policy, they're limited to a certain number of things they could send. We've seen that in some of the other trials as well. But so they try to test the things that are most probable, to give them information about the case, and they have everything that they found. Either had no evidence or seems to point towards Alexander. But now the state's trying to say everything you didn't test would have been exculpatory evidence for us. So that's what they're trying to do, just cast some doubt in the jury's mind. They happen to have gotten lucky, and they have a state's witness who doesn't testify very well on the stand. This individual, he doesn't seem confident. He doesn't have a lot of information. He's not still with the department, so there are things he's not sure of. All this looks bad in the eyes of the jury, and so they've played that to the nth degree, as far as they can go, every direction, even things that he wasn't involved with. They sort of brought up questions just to try to get him to talk about all the things they have doubt about, because while they have somebody who's doing a poor job on the stand, they'd like him to continue doing a poor job about all those other topics as well. So it did ramble off all over different places, and I think it will. I think the prosecution will be able to bring them back on the core parts of his testimony that are that don't look good for Alexander, but it's unfortunate that he ventured into areas where he was way over his head. The Border Patrol, that's a great example, Tom, when you're talking about Juan David Ortiz, the Border Patrol agent. They only tested a certain number of items. Now, I think we found out in that trial that they could have, that each submission was limited to that many items, and they could have made more submissions, but instead they only supported 5. Samantha says, personally, I prefer the amount of people currently in chat, but I support your growth, RA. You got bills to pay. Hey, thank you, Samantha. I like this level. I like to be able to answer all the questions that come up, or at least try to get to them. Ivan says, I just subbed with 2 dead accounts I no longer use. Hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. That is really funny. Let's see. Thanks for your answer. It makes sense. No problem, Grumpy Cat. Anything else, let me know. Katrina, thanks for turning the chat on. I always forget. The mods are the only one able to do that. But I do have the sounds turned off right now, lawsuit. Just except for that one, just because we're in the middle of testimony. So we can turn them on if we want, and we'll probably do it more on police chases than we will in during testimony, just because a lot of people want to hear the testimony that's going on. I mean, we're all trial junkies, and so we want to hear the trial as well. No. Don't do this. Don't do this. This would be bad. If I were to condone that, I think YouTube would have bad things to say to me. Mr. Spy has admitted to becoming an addict. Thank you, Mr. Spy. I appreciate you becoming an addict and subscribing. Let's see if you can't get the... Oh, that's Tanem's girl. Okay, never mind. We're good. All right. Did we cover... We did a rehash of where we're at. I'm going to go ahead and switch the screen just a tiny bit. We've got this BK case coming out. We've got Derek Chauvin, who was, George Floyd, who was just appealed today. That news just broke. I forget who shared that with us today, but thank you for that tip. That'll be very interesting if he wins that appeal and gets a new trial, saying that his trial was not fair. That one has serious social implications. That was a hot button trial that was monitored all over the country. Okay, I think I caught everything. Okay, we're good. All caught up. Okay, if you have any questions you want me to answer, go ahead and tag me in chat. Just put, like Grumpy Cat did here, the @ symbol, and then type Recovery Addict, just like she did. And it will show up in orange on my screen. I'll be able to pick it out from amongst the chatter. Catlaw says, Recovery Addict, do you think not testing the rounds in the gun was important? Okay, so Catlaw, I realized that when they were doing the investigation, they hadn't decided how they were going to prosecute this. They probably didn't have their theory of events put together. But it seems strange for them to focus so much on, Bite Me says, it was me, silly goose. It was you that said that information. Squirrel moment. Thank you, Bite Me, for the information about the George Floyd appeal. Going back to Catlaw, though, testing the rounds in the gun. The prosecution had not yet built their case, right? They are, as far as how they're going to prosecute it, the story they're going to lay out, their version of the events that they're going to present to the jury. So they build that based upon the evidence they've gathered. It seems strange that they focused so much on him having to reload the gun, and the gun being a weird way to reload, and that their experts couldn't figure out how to load it and everything like that. It seems strange they would focus so much on that and then not have the testing for the ammunition that was still in the gun that supposedly he just reloaded into it. That's the way these guns work. The bullets are first in, first out. So if you have some in the gun and you shoot some and there's still some left and you load some more in, the ones that were in there longest are going to fire first. So the last ones that are in the gun, the ones that are still there that haven't been shot, those are the ones that have the highest likelihood of being loaded by the person who just handled the gun last. So it seems funny they didn't test it when they had them available. When they were testing so many other things, especially they hadn't been fired. I wonder if there was, fingerprints on them, if they could at least do that, because that brass can really pick up an oily fingerprint really well. If you ever handled brass before, picked it up, and it just immortalizes your fingerprint. It says, let's see. Hope you're not getting sick. Anyway, that's what I think about the rounds testing. I think they should have tested it. It would have been one more, nail in the coffin, so to speak. But he's already shot himself in the foot, so what more could he want? Bite Me, thank you for the information about the Derek Chauvin update about him appealing. I can't wait to hear if that moves forward or not. I think my chat is stuck. I'm not sure why I can't scroll. Okay. Let's see if I missed anything else up above it. Here's Lori. There we go. Okay, it's updating slowly. Lori says, not sure why witnesses sometimes appear to be unprepared. This one particularly, Lori, this investigator has left the department. He doesn't have the same access that he had before. I'm just reading an update about the search warrant from the BK case. That's the same information we already had. Since he's not with the police anymore, he doesn't have the access to the reports, the inside information, the computers, and so all he has to read is basically, a copy of his report that he's provided. And so he reviews it quickly. He's like, I haven't been there for months. It's not like I've been talking about this or thinking about it or preparing for it for a long time. He's got other jobs. He's got other work to do. And he doesn't just have that support mechanism in place that will help him prepare. And at the same time, he really does not want to have the prosecution's case destroyed by something he says. So he's trying to do the right thing. I think he's actually trying too hard to say the right thing. Anytime there's a question that's presented to him that might look bad or paint other possibilities, he's trying to get around saying it. And And sometimes if you're confident and you're very skilled in answering questions this way, you can do that without a problem. He's not pulling it off very well. Instead, he's looking very weak and shaky and not sure. And although he's not, saying there could have been an intruder, at the same time, everyone's hearing that there could have been an intruder. It was his dad's gun in their house. How often does that happen where an intruder finds the gun and ammo to kill a house full of people? If I was a juror, I tuned out most of the testimony today. There's a lot of evidence against Alexander, a lot. But the defense is doing a good job with the little bit that they have to try to magnify it into that reasonable doubt. And we'll see if they can get there. I don't think they can myself. I think he, if I was on the jury right now, I'd be leaning towards that guilty switch. Okay, I have not, Ed says, I've not watched any of this trial. At some point later, can you post a link to a good explanation of what this trial is about? Or paste it into the next day's comments section. Ed, this morning we did a recap of the opening statements for that reason. We took the day one opening statements so you could just hear both sides present what happened. For the most part, what the opening statements should give us sort of like a groundwork or a map of what each side's going to present. And so we can expect that that's what's going to be happening in the trial. And then we jumped in the trial, so we skipped a couple days of evidence. We skipped some important things. We skipped the body camera footage from the police officers. It had some pretty raw images as far as death and destruction and carnage went. We also skipped the 911 call, but we went back and watched both an edited version of the body camera footage, as well as we listened to the 911 call that Alexander made as well. So we sort of caught up that way. I'm hoping we can just continue watching here and move on. If the opening statements aren't enough for you, Ed, if that doesn't sort of clarify things a little bit, and they're not long, I think you can watch both of them inside an hour. Let me know. Even if Chauvin gets a new trial, he's still found guilty in the federal case. Right, but if he gets a new trial, it's going to be a hot button as well. There are some people that feel that if anything less than the maximum is not justice. We saw that in the Aaron Dean trial, where people were frustrated that he got a sentence that was less than the maximum. Debbie says, I love Bite-Me's name. P. Cooper, I've honestly only ever been in 2 chat rooms. The other one only because I was waiting for RA, but got caught. Those traitors know who they are. No, it's good. I'm glad you guys are here when you can be here. It doesn't bother me if you go to another room and hang out and get more information. I can only do one thing at a time. I mean, I guess in theory, I could show 6 different trials simultaneously. I've got the equipment to do that, but it's hard to listen to 6 at once. Ed, if you go back and look at my channel, go to the lives, and it was this morning's live stream. That'll be the one you want to watch. Nems Girl, you're going to love Discord. It's awesome. There's a little learning curve, but if you go to the Discord channel, which I think somebody linked in chat just a little bit ago, if they haven't, just hit !Discord and go to that link. It's great information from Toxic and Little Miss. What is the punishment for chat cheating? It's just public shaming. That's all. We'll just ridicule you constantly in front of your friends. Can you sum up what's going on with the BK really quick? Yes, Micah, we can. Obviously, we have a gag order in place. So the police in Idaho and the lawyers are not supposed to be releasing any information. Some is coming out. Like, for instance, where do we hear about this Instagram that BK reached out to? Was it Maddie? I'm thinking Maddie for some reason on her Instagram over and over, basically like, hey, what you doing? What you doing? What you doing? What you doing? Type thing, or how are you, or something to that effect, where she never responded. But there were multiple times when he reached out. I don't know where that information came from. It's been released publicly. It probably was leaked somehow. I think even the story that I saw, the headline was leaked. Judge is not going to be happy about that, which is not good, because the judge may try to rein in or seal those leaks a little more aggressively, and that could restrict our access to the court. Other things that are going on. Today we had the document drop from Washington that the Vixen Amber provided for us. The big thing in that case, although it had a little bit additional information, the big thing in that case was that we had a list of items that were taken from the Washington State University apartment that BK lived in. And I can read those again. We've got one nitrite type black glove. So that's basically what we had the investigator on the stand wearing when he was trying to hold the firearm today. One Walmart receipt with one Dickies tag. So I'm thinking Dickies. I'm thinking coveralls. I'm not sure if that's the correct usage of that, but I believe it's a coverall type thing. 2 Marshall's receipts, dust container from Bissell Power Force vacuum, 8 possible hair strands. So the dust container probably is where they got these hair strands. 1 Fire TV stick with cord and plug. I wonder why they took that. 1 possible hair strand, animal hair strand. 1 possible hair, 1 possible hair, 1 possible hair, 1 possible hair strand. 1 computer tower, a collection of dark red spots collected without testing, 2 cuttings from uncased pillow of reddish brown stain. The larger stain was tested, and 2 top and bottom of mattress cover packaged separately, both labeled C, multiple stains, 1 tested. So this is the information we've got on BK, and this comes from Washington, from his search of his apartment there when he left that, and that was right at the end of the year. How was your date last night? It was fabulous. We've got some good friends that we're trying to. We've got some plans with that are pretty exciting for us. So we were hashing out some details there, and it was good. Let's see. Nem's girl, I'm going to have my 15-year-old teach me the Discord ropes. That's the way it works. When you can't understand the computer, you call the kids in. I've got several kids that are smarter than me on some computer things. Saw a guy with a channel like that, multiple trials, confusing. Debbie, I agree. When there's too much going on, it's bad. Now, if we had, say, for instance, if we were following, say there's more riots, right? So remember when we had the riots and all over the place, there was cameras, live streams everywhere as riots were happening everywhere. I would, in a heartbeat, I'd pull up all those feeds and I'd have them on my screen, and I'd be able to jump back between them and show you multiples at the same time. But that's not like a court case where you're trying to logically follow arguments and things like that. And you really need to know what's going on and the scenario. In that situation, but what you see is what you get in a lot of cases. So for something like that, I'd love to. If we have another police chase where there are multiple camera angles available, and I can sync them together so we can cut different angles and show you different information that one stream can't provide all the information, that's what I'll do. But I don't want to do multiple trials simultaneously. That's too much for my little head. The mods. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Bella. I think in another room, hopefully. Let's see. I just imagined Koberger in coveralls and couldn't help but laugh at the image. Yeah, I think that was probably a protective layer he wore. I don't know. Does Walmart sell black coveralls, Dickies coveralls? I guess we could search that really quickly. Kids are back from their field trip today. I think they went to a maritime museum. Let's see. Okay, they're having a good time. Walmart, Dickies, and we know it was black, right? So they do sell some black loose fit pants or flex. It's basically like work pants, I think is what the best description would be. So it might not be coveralls, it might just be the pants themselves. Let's see. I think that's what it was. He probably spent between $30 and $40 on a pair of black pants for his uniform. Dickies and Carhartt make up 95% of my wardrobe. They're sturdy. They're durable. They last. They're fairly high quality. They're not always the most comfortable of clothing, as far as, you know, just up against the skin type thing. They're sometimes a little bit tough, but Carhartt, I mean, they're work clothes.
All right, go ahead and have a seat, everybody.
Let's see what's happening here.
All right, we're back from our break with our jury. And,
Sorry, thanks for the
Counsel,
correction.
Mr. Jackson present. Mr. Bosenberg is still at the witness stand. And again, Mr. Bosenberg, I'm just going to remind you that you're still under oath. And I believe we were back to Ms. Slaughter for possible redirect examination. So, Ms. Slaughter, you may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator Bosenberg, in reference to the NIBIN report, who submitted the information into the NIBIN system in this case?
So Investigator Jessica Harden would have completed the submission, which goes to an ATF contractor that works out of the Cedar Rapids Police Department, who would have then put in the data into the system.
And when you say an ATF contractor that works in Cedar Rapids, who is that person?
Her name is Michaela Norris.
And is her name shown on the second page of that NIBIN report?
It is.
Regarding the specific information input regarding the type of bullet where it says 22 caliber short, who inputs that information?
That would be a field that is, data is input by Michaela Norris.
It does say nitrite on the seizure document, the search warrant document. So maybe it's a typo.
Recess or taking our break, did yourself, me, Mr. Scheer, and Mr. Johnston participate in a, I don't know, experiment for lack of a better word?
Yes.
And can you describe what was done in that experimentation?
Yes, we took the live rounds and loaded the firearm to confirm how many fit into the magazine.
Loaded gun in the courtroom.
Clear, live rounds were collected from the scene, correct?
Yes.
And if I remember correctly, one of the evidence markers for the live rounds at the fireplace was evidence marker 9. Is that correct?
Yes.
Evidence marker 9, which I'm going to now refer to as State's Exhibit 172. When you collected those live rounds, were they put into this baggie?
Yes, they were.
And did you mark this baggie with the number 9?
Yes.
Does that number 9 correspond with the evidence marker, that yellow tint that was associated with number 9 on the fireplace?
Yes.
Now, there was also another live round found next to Jan Jackson's body. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that was evidence tent 12, correct?
Yes.
Was that collected?
MB, I'm
Yes.
so sorry.
And when that was collected, was that also placed into a plastic baggie?
Yes.
Did you mark 12 on the outside of that plastic baggie?
Yes.
And I'm going to refer to that going forward as State's Exhibit 174. The 3 live rounds that were taken out of the gun during processing, you said you did collect those, and we saw a picture of them in the bottom of a paper sack, correct?
Correct.
Is that what you marked as 14J?
Yes.
And I'm going to refer to that, my sticker's not sticking very well, but 173. And I'm going to write State's Exhibit 173 because my sticker's not sticking to the paper basket. When you put those pieces of evidence into these baggies, they are then sealed with this red evidence tape. Is that correct?
Yes.
And prior to our experiment, were both of those baggies sealed with that red tape?
Yes.
On State's Exhibit 172, the baggie that you have numbered with a 9, in order to conduct our experiment, did we have to cut through that evidence tape?
Yes.
And is that the only reason that's unsealed?
Yes.
Now,
I still can't believe they loaded the gun in the courtroom just to see how many
live
bullets it would hold.
ammunition or the live cartridges that were collected in State's Exhibit 172, they came out of the Remington box that was seated on that lower fireplace mantle, correct?
Yes.
And was that box also collected and photographed?
Yes.
If you can look at your side computer there momentarily. Can you send the image just to his computer, Judge?
He's like, I have a computer?
Does he have it there?
He should.
Yes.
I'm going to scroll through briefly, Investigator Bosenberg, showing you State's Exhibit 161, 162, 163, 164, 165, 166, 167, 168, 169, 170, and 171. Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, I do.
Are they photographs that you took of the box of Remington ammunition that was collected from the 4414 address?
Yes.
And in those photos, did you photograph each side of this box of ammunition?
I did.
Your Honor, at this time, the state moves to admit Exhibits 161 through 171.
Any objection? No objection, Your Honor. All right.
I
We
would
should be able
also
to see
move
these
to
pictures.
admit State's Exhibits 172, 173, and 174.
Any objection to those exhibits, Mr. Johnson? No. All right, then. At this time, State's Exhibits 161 through and inclusive of 174 are admitted. Would you like to publish the ones that you have electronically?
Yes, Your Honor.
It's light time.
And since I'm on 171, Investigator Bosenberg, I'm going to go backwards. In Exhibit 171, there is a big number 10 above
high
the
velocity.
box of ammunition. Is that correct?
Yes.
Does that number 10 or is that number 10 meant to correspond with the evidence tent that you used on the scene?
Yes.
Looking at specifically Exhibit 168, can you tell us what type of ammunition was contained in this box?
Yes. 22 long rifle.
Long rifle.
Yes.
And is that confirmed from this other angle in Exhibit 167?
Yes.
So this is a 99-cent box of ammunition, which now is a $10 box of ammunition
Investigator
in today's
Bosenberg,
prices. But it looks like he bought it when it was 99 cents.
do you have independent knowledge of specifically how long a Remington 22 caliber long rifle bullet should be? Bullet, one of these.
Yes.
It's roughly about an
And
inch, right?
approximately how long is the long one
They're in between 15 and 16 millimeters long.
versus the short bullet?
Talking about the casing.
Yeah, the 22 short's around just over 10 millimeters.
May I republish another exhibit that's already been admitted, Your Honor?
You may.
Republishing Exhibit 73, Investigator Bosenberg. In looking at this photograph, the live round that is shown in this photo, is that next to a ruler?
Yes.
And approximately how large is the round shown in this exhibit?
It's around that 15 to 16 millimeter mark. It should be noted that from 5 to the end is a half of a centimeter.
And just to be clear, Investigator Bosenberg, when we opened this baggie that's marked States Exhibit 172, was this the ammunition that we used in that experiment to load the rifle, Exhibit 155?
Yes, it was.
How many rounds make that rifle full?
11.
What happened when we tried to put a 12th round in it?
You
It
broke
would
it.
not go in. It stuck out of the loading port.
So fully loaded, the rifle that we have in Exhibit 155 only holds 11 rounds.
Is
Yes.
it fully loaded now? That is a 22 long rifle. It's the most common
Investigator Bosenberg,
caliber
you were
I think you can
also
find anywhere in the
asked
U.S.
some questions about
Yeah,
potential
50 round boxes for a
markings
buck. That's what when I was
seen,
when I was first buying ammunition. That's what it
on the
cost for me as
defendant's
well.
foot while he was at the hospital. Is that correct?
Yes.
May I have permission to republish States Exhibit 150, Your Honor?
Yeah, Richard, that's what I thought. The length is 1 inch, which would be 25 millimeters, right?
Investigator Bosenberg, looking at the injury depicted in States Exhibit
The case length is 15.
150,
They're saying bullet is 15. And the 22 short, the case length would be 10 or 11.
the circular pattern around that injury, do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Is that circular pattern consistent in size and shape with the barrel of that 22 rifle?
I would say it is, yes.
You mentioned, thank you, Judge.
Aziz.
You mentioned that you've found some cleaning supplies in the house.
Yes.
Can you recall where those were?
I want to say they were associated with the safe in the back room in the basement.
But not in that front living room area.
No.
Mac, you're so bad.
You were asked by Mr. Johnston if you cut the carpet up in this home. Do you recall that line of questioning?
Yes.
And there were several different places where carpet was cut up, correct?
Correct.
And may I republish, Your Honor?
Sure, which exhibit are we going to be?
94.
All right.
In States Exhibit 94, the area that had the deeply saturated blood patterns behind the couch, that square around that pattern, does that suggest or indicate that you cut up that piece of carpet?
Yes.
And when you cut up that piece of carpet, did you examine what was underneath in an attempt to find the bullet?
Yes.
Did you find a bullet there?
No.
Did you also cut up the carpet in the defendant's bedroom where it was deeply saturated next to his bed?
Yes.
Examined under that?
Yes.
And did you find a bullet there?
No.
So the bullet didn't penetrate through to the carpet?
There was a
But it ricocheted and went further.
line of questions asked to you about where you would expect to see palm prints or hand prints on a gun. Do you recall that line of questioning?
Yes.
Can you describe the difference in texture in the area of the gun if you were holding it normally? What did you call this, the fore something?
Oh, like the foregrip?
The foregrip, yes. What is the texture there on that firearm?
It's stippled. There's a texture on it, so it's grippier. It's not all polished wood.
It's far from polished, right?
Right.
Okay. And that type of texture would not be conducive to a fingerprint, is that correct?
Absolutely not.
That texture that's seen on that foregrip of the firearm is also the same texture seen in the back area on the butt in some areas. Is that true?
Yes.
And so that area on the back would also not be conducive for fingerprints?
Correct. Not conducive at all.
Now, you were asked several questions about excluding and whether or not you could exclude this alleged burglar. When you get this report back, this algorithm back from your fingerprinting software, are you given names?
No.
What are you given?
Through the state system, it's your state ID number, and through the FBI, it's your FBI number. So all we receive back is the algorithm score and the state or FBI number.
Do you know why you're not giving names?
It's an impartial process, so we don't see names. All we see is a number, so we can't look at the names and have any preconceived notions about what we're looking at.
That way you can't see or imagine seeing a match because you want to find a specific person's fingerprints, right?
Correct.
It keeps you fair.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like a double-blind test.
So when you are comparing those 5 results that come back from this fingerprint database, you said that there were identifying markers, right?
So there's identifying data points or markers in the latent print that were used to match up or make the algorithm with the known prints.
Okay. And if I recalled your testimony correctly during direct examination, the points of detail that you look at, you were explaining how on a fingerprint opposed to a palm print necessarily, there's the bend or the curved points that make it easier or make those specific points of identification more distinguishable. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so if what I understood you said about latent 3 is that the markers on latent 3 that you saw weren't curved.
Correct.
It was harder to distinguish those points of detail.
Yes, in comparison. You could find those points within those parallel lines, but doing it comparison makes it difficult with those parallel lines.
When you were looking at that latent 3, you concluded that the 5 unidentified matches or number identified matches that you received from the system, you couldn't match those top 5 to the latent that you had in front of you,
Ivan,
correct?
seriously.
Correct.
Couldn't exclude or include.
Correct.
Now, you can't say whether or not that was Jan Jackson's print.
Correct.
Can't say whether or not that latent 3 was Alexander Jackson's print.
Correct.
Or this alleged intruder's print, right?
Correct.
But you could definitively say based on your opinion and experience and training, that the two prints that you did see on the buttstock of that gun belonged to the defendant?
Yes.
Now, Investigator Bosenberg, you were asked a line of questioning by Mr. Johnston related to how a gun is typically held. Do you recall that line of questioning?
Yes.
And Mr. Johnston asked you some questions about whether or not it would be probable or more likely if someone was holding the gun from the stock if they were wrestling over the gun. Do you remember
Yes.
questions similar to that?
Yes.
I'm not sure if they said they were wrestling over the gun or not.
If the intruder was holding the gun, where would you have expected to find Mr. Jackson's fingerprints?
Not on the buttstock end. On the barrel end is where I would expect to find those.
It's only if he
the line
knows
of
how the
questioning
struggling
also
went.
from Mr. Johnston asked you questions about how the gun would be held if the defendant intentionally shot himself in the foot. Do you recall that line of questions?
Yes.
When you stood up here and demonstrated where that right palm print was and where that left palm print was, could that have very easily been the position that the gun was being held when the defendant was shot in the foot?
Very possibly, yes.
I wonder if we're going to get a Dean Cummings type reenactment of how the struggle went with the gun.
Earlier, when we
Now that it's
discussed
loaded.
the latent print marks 1 and latent print mark 2, can you remind us how you described the quality of those prints?
The quality was very good on those. There was lots of detail present.
Would you expect the quality of a print to be that good if a struggle was ensuing over this firearm?
Not at all.
You say not at all very definitively. Can you tell us why you say that?
If there's a struggle and somebody was gripping the gun there, it means there's forces on both sides, so that gun's going to be moving around. And prints are very delicate, so, as we described earlier, if you slide your hand across something, it makes smear marks and kind of distorts the whole print. Those prints didn't really have any indication at all of that type of movement.
It's just an indication of a good grip.
Means that they were large enough and of good quality enough. There's a lot of crisp detail in those prints.
Can you tell us what kickback is on a firearm?
Kickback.
Like
Yes.
recoil?
So when you fire any type of firearm, the firing of the bullet creates force. So obviously the bullet goes out the front at a certain velocity, but there's also some back pressure, either on the buttstock or on a handgun that kicks back a little bit.
Hey, Susan, welcome.
Typically,
Good to
if
have you as a
that
subscriber.
type of rifle is being held in the proper mannerism, the buttstock and the shoulder, would that minimize the amount of movement after a shot was fired?
Yes.
There were a couple of
There's very little kickback on a 22.
less than ideal.
We switched trials because of terms of
places
service
on the
YouTube.
prints
I
in
couldn't
Leighton
risk
1
losing my
and
account.
Leighton 2, I think you called them heavy, or do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
What was the term you used to describe those areas?
I don't know the exact word, but I believe it was something along, heavy marks on there.
Holding the firearm in that position that you demonstrated for us, could the kickback from the firearm at the time that it was fired cause those little smudge marks or those heavy marks?
Saying the kickback would in the grip. There's so little recoil in a 22, especially a semi-automatic.
That could be one cause of those, yes.
I'm not buying this at all. Yeah, that and the talk. It was quite a bit. It sort of demonetizes the feed really quickly. It gets me age restricted. Puts a little black mark on my account for YouTube, so I don't want that.
I don't have any further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you.
Yep, recross.
Mr. Bosenberg, you know that Layton 3 does not belong to Alexander Jackson, don't you?
I don't know if I could definitively say that.
I believe you testified already that it
100%.
didn't.
Well, Layton 3 was suitable for identification, right?
I don't even know if I would go that far. There was data points there that could be used for identification.
You entered it into the computer and it kicked back other prints, right?
Yes, but that doesn't really give us an indication if it's identifiable or not.
Not one of those was Alexander Jackson's print, was it?
I don't know that for sure because when it kicks back numbers, not a name.
You know it didn't kick back Alexander Jackson.
I can't definitively answer that right now.
I think, well, it was because you can't remember?
Yeah, I don't remember the numbers that popped up on the screen for number 3.
If you couldn't exclude Alexander Jackson, you would have put that in your report. Would you not have?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
So there's no mention in your report that Layton 3 could possibly belong to Alexander Jackson, right?
Yes, I didn't mention that it could belong to him.
And that's because you excluded him as a potential source for Layton 3, and that's why you put it in the computer.
They were put in the computer first before I did any comparison to any other known prints.
You know that Layton 3 did not belong to Alexander Jackson. Isn't that true?
Your Honor, objection.
Asked and answered.
Ask the same question 3 times and then give them a different result.
All right, the objection is sustained.
See if he answers anyway.
There were enough markers on that print that made it suitable for identification. Is that not true?
Again, I can't definitively answer that. There were data points on that print that could be used for identification, but without a suitable known print, I can't definitively answer if that print
There were enough
could be identified.
data points on that print that did not match the palm prints of Alexander Jackson, correct?
That's, again, a tough question to definitively answer. The palm is so large with enough data points. I guess I don't know how to accurately
This guy's
answer
going to get in
that
trouble
question.
the way he's
Well,
trying
you
to.
didn't submit
hedge
Layton's
around
1
this.
or 2 into the computer, did you?
I did.
Well, okay, but you already had Alexander Jackson's prints.
So Alexander Jackson's prints were on file. I matched them up because when I submitted Layton 1 and 2 through the system, he was the number 1 respondent through the algorithm.
You had him on file because you collected them from him when he was arrested.
Yes.
Myra, I'd say 22-ish.
But Layton 3
Early
got
20s
treated
is the
differently,
oldest,
didn't it?
And the youngest is still in the single digits.
Because you did, Alexander Jackson did not come back as a potential source for that print, did he?
I don't know. Sitting here now, there was 5 top respondents, and I went through them, and I didn't document the numbers that those 5 came back to.
He's hedging, and I think he knows the answer. He knows that those
So
5
you're
were
saying
not
here today you
Alexander.
don't remember that you could exclude him, or you don't remember whether his name came up as a potential source for that print?
Well, names don't come up in the system. It's numbers.
Numbers, whatever.
Right.
You're saying you don't remember now.
So when you get respondents back, there's lots of numbers that pop up. I didn't document which numbers number 3 responded with. As I went through them, that wasn't documented.
Well, this is a triple homicide case, right?
Yes.
This would be an important case to you, correct?
Yes.
And detail matters, doesn't it?
Yes.
And at no time when I was first questioning you about this, did you ever say that you couldn't exclude Alexander Jackson, correct?
He's the one with the
Yes,
question
I don't believe
again.
I was asked directly about that either.
There's a reason why you testified. When I asked you in deposition, you said Layton 1 and 2 belong to Alexander Jackson, correct?
Yes,
And when I asked you about Layton 3, you said it's unidentified,
that is correct.
meaning you could exclude Alexander Jackson.
That means I don't know who it belongs to.
Okay, he's the witness might
Because
win on this
sometimes
one.
you have enough of a print that even though you can't make a definitive match, you can exclude certain people as the source, right?
That is potential in prints, yes.
And this was that instance, right?
I don't recall. Again, this print wasn't of the greatest quality, so I struggled with the quality of this print.
I don't understand why you say you don't recall. This is an important detail.
He needs to
I
take.
don't understand why I don't
think-
recall is an acceptable answer for you.
Is there a question there, Your Honor?
No, there
Go
wasn't.
ahead, Mr. Johnson, ask your question.
If he digs right,
So
I
I'm
think he can get
asking
an
you.
answer.
Search your memory, because I guess that's what we have to do now. And you
Might be
say,
an objection here.
can you exclude Alexander Jackson or not as the potential source for that Layton 3?
I have not found a match for that latent print. I don't know the source of that latent print at all.
I understand that.
Yes.
I understand that you haven't found a match. And you didn't know whether some of the prints that came back on the computer were matches or not because you didn't have enough information, right?
Right.
But there are times when you, even though you can't have
Myra,
a
that's
match,
awesome.
you can exclude
My kids love
people
to read.
because there's enough difference. Isn't it true that you could exclude Alexander Jackson as the source of Layton 3?
Yes, it would be a true statement that he potentially could be excluded by a thorough examination of those two.
Okay, so that's the ground they wanted. Gave it very
Are you saying
grudgingly.
you didn't do a thorough examination?
I examined them for a while, but like I said earlier, the palm print is so big, and there was the detail of that one print was so few that I wasn't able to match it up at all. But I don't know if I would go as far as it's an unknown. I don't know where that print came from.
I understand, but you do know that it didn't come from Alexander Jackson.
That's a good possibility, yes.
Now, getting back to this NIBIN report. On the NIBIN report, it describes the ammunition as 22 short, right?
Yes.
It says that in 3 different places on that report.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Every time it describes ammunition, it describes it as 22 short. Right?
Yes.
And if the ammunition that had been used were in fact 22 shorts, like that report says, then more ammunition would have fit into that rifle. Correct?
Yes. If the ammunition was actually a short, more than 11 would have fit.
So the NIBIN report then is incorrect when it identifies the shell casing as a 22 short.
Yes, I would interpret that as an entry error.
But that makes it all the more critical that the 3 bullets inside the gun were tested for DNA, doesn't it?
Guess it's in the eye of the beholder on the importance of, we didn't send them in. That wasn't a...
I understand, but that's, if we know now that it has to be reloaded from our experiment that we did,
Yes.
then those 3 rounds that were still in the gun had to have been loaded by the shooter. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So that makes it that much more important that we tested those for potential DNA. Does it not?
I mean, you have to rank it in important.
I don't know why that just cut out. That was the feed that just cut. The lawyer's pushing hard. He's digging very deep at this.
Bosenberg,
Why did it just reset?
when you were reviewing latent print 3 specifically, and you get or got the 5 numbers back or identification numbers back, did you just then compare your latent to those prints associated with those 5 numbers?
Yes.
Once you compared your latent with those 5 numbers and you did not confirm that the latent matched either of those 5 prints, was there any reason for you to identify who those prints belonged to?
No.
All you can say for sure is the 5 numbers that kicked back, you were not able to confirm based on the detail points that the computer shot out and the detail points that you looked at, that latent print matched those prints, right?
Correct.
And I know it looks big in the picture. How big of an area of the palm are we talking about where this latent print 3?
I'd have to check the photos, but I want to say it was less than a centimeter wide at its widest point. And you have to go in a little bit because the ends aren't very suitable for something like that. And I don't know if it was 2 centimeters long, maybe, just guessing without reference in the photo.
I'm going to cut away to something a
So
little
less than an
unrelated.
inch.
Myra
Yes, I would.
generous offer to
say
send a book for
probably
my
that'd be
kids. I
accurate.
just wanted to pull up on YouTube, on the channel and show the book she has. It's available on Amazon. This one here, I think that's the right one. My Dog, Cat Brother, Sterling. By Myra. We have someone famous amongst us. That's awesome, Myra. Being published on getting a book published. That's cool.
And latent 3 you described as being poor in quality, is that correct?
Yes.
Cashette, I could do that.
I don't have any further questions.
Hopefully the back and forth's done here.
The definition of a latent
Not
print
done.
is that it's suitable for identification, right? You have enough characteristics that you can make a comparison.
That's not how I would describe a latent print.
This print had enough points of comparison that you could make an identification, did it not?
Again, as I said before, I don't know if I could commit to that answer. It had points of identification, but without a suitable candidate, I can't confirm that it would be a suitable
You need to have
print
something in the database to
match.
match it too.
So you never prepared a report about this print detailing the number of points of comparison?
No.
I don't have any further questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bosenberg. You may step down, and I believe we're now free to go.
Thank you.
Okay, that was not a stellar witness for the state. I think defense won some points on that one, as painful as it was to get it out.
Back over to you, Mr. Scheer.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Scheer, does the state have another witness to call?
We do, Your Honor. The state would call investigator Matt Denlinger to the stand.
All right.
New investigator. This is going to be prosecution asking the questions. Now, the last person asked questions was defense, but it was in the back and forth of cross and redirect.
Good afternoon, Investigator Denlinger. If you want to have a seat right over there to my far left. I'll swear you in once you're seated.
It's awesome, Kayla.
And just first, that microphone is live. You can move it around however you'd like to make it work best for you. All right, I'm going to swear you in, sir. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving this afternoon will be the truth?
I do.
All right. And then just for the record, can you please
Myra, that's
provide us
really
with
cool.
both your first and last names?
I've
and spell them?
I've written some things that are important to me. I haven't published them. It's awesome that you can share something that means so much. You can share it publicly. That's really neat.
All right, Mr. Scheer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, investigator. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Investigator Denlinger, Who are you employed with?
I work for the City of Cedar Rapids
How long have you worked for the City of Cedar Rapids?
since August of 1999.
And who do you work for in the City of Cedar Rapids?
I work for the Cedar Rapids Police Department.
And have you worked for them since 1999?
I have.
Can you please give us a brief history of your training and education in order to be a peace officer?
Sure. I graduated from the University of Northern Iowa in 1997 with a degree in education. I went on to the Cedar Rapids Police Academy in 1999. Prior to that, I was a reserve officer for approximately 6 months and went through Reserve Academy also. As a police officer, I was a patrol officer for the first 4 years of my career, and then I moved back to the Investigative Bureau.
Are you a certified law enforcement officer throughout the state of Iowa?
I am.
I want to know
So
where
I
he gets
think
his haircut.
I heard you say that you started in 1999 and was a patrol officer for 4 years. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so in about 2003 is when you
Courtney,
moved
some
into
good stuff.
the Investigation Bureau?
The items
Yes,
they
it was
seized
the
are
end
what's
of
most
2003.
interesting.
What initial division were
awesome,
you
Myra.
assigned with the Investigation Bureau?
I was assigned to investigate burglaries.
And are those kind of like known as property crimes?
Yeah, that would be, they call it the property crime section now.
And how long were you in the property crime section?
I was in there for a couple of years.
Where were you next assigned
Let me see if
to?
I can post a
My
link
next
to Myra's
assignment
book. Just one
was
second.
narcotics.
I'll grab it through my system here.
How long were you in narcotics?
Approximately 8 or 9 years.
Where are you currently assigned to?
I'm currently assigned to work crimes against persons.
And when you say crimes against persons, can you just tell us what type of crimes you're talking about?
Typically, the type of crimes they would assign
Bad
me
ones,
would
bad
include
crimes.
homicides, robberies, violent assaults, things of that nature. I also work on cold case investigations.
That's my link to Kyra's book.
What type of training have
Amazon.
you had in order to be an investigator?
I've been through all kinds of training. I've been to specific classes for different types of investigations, including narcotics conferences, burglary investigations, homicide school. I've been through other investigative classes such as interview and interrogation. I went through one of those when I first started in the Bureau, and then I've been through an updated one more recently.
This is Kyra, I meant Myra, sorry.
How did you get involved in this case?
When I showed up for work, it was June 15th, 2021. You know, I was standing around with the other investigators. It was early in the morning, so everyone was kind of getting started with their day. And we heard about the case through one of our supervisors came back in the hallway and started asking people to go out and assist.
Yeah, and I was having a hard time hearing Investigator Denlinger, so if you could speak up a little bit louder, I'd appreciate it. Okay, sir?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And so I believe you were kind of just talking about the morning of June 15th of 2021 on how
Get
you
feeling
got
better,
involved
Laura.
in this case.
I'll say it quietly. Get feeling
Briefly
better.
describe to us, how does an investigator get assigned to a particular case such as a homicide case?
Sometimes it happens because you're on call. You happen to be on call the weekend it happens, and that's your area of expertise, so they would just give that case to you. Sometimes it's determined by everyone's workload at the time that a homicide occurs. In this particular case, you know, it was kind of all hands on deck because we did have 3 victims. We sent pretty much everyone that was available out to the crime scene to try to help canvass and do some of the initial work like that. As we were heading out there, I think Lieutenant Dostal was aware that Mr. Jackson was going to the hospital and so redirected myself to St. Luke's to try to meet with him there and interview him about it.
Were you working with anyone else that day?
Yes, Investigator Sarah Lucina was also asked to go up to the hospital.
What type of information, and not just this particular case, but when you're assigned to a case like this, what information are you given to get you caught up to date or caught up to speed of what's going on?
Well, in a normal case, you would get a form we refer to as the 600, and that has all the basic information on the case. It has the victim's name and information, the reporting party's name and information, the date, the location, and then typically when it's assigned to me, I'll also get a handful of supplements that the officers have typed up or had typed up that talk about their initial response to the case, have some basic details in the case.
And you said something kind of interesting there is, in a typical case, was this a typical case for you?
No, this wasn't typical in that we're responding minutes after this happened. So none of that is done. So you don't have any of that information. You're kind of relying on someone's word of mouth that they give you in the hallway as they send you out the door, and you're trying to do your best to catch up or stay on top of things as you're working.
And so what time
this is the detective that shows up at the
Cedar
hospital,
Rapids Police
I believe.
Station to go to the
Is
hospital
that what you're asking?
to speak to Mr. Jackson?
We left shortly after 8:30.
So he's going to go talk to
So
Alexander
what
in the
information, if
hospital.
any, were you given before you left to go speak to Mr. Jackson, Alex Jackson at the hospital?
Well, sometimes it's a little hard to remember, precisely what you were told, but the gist of it was that we were told that there was a home invasion or burglary, and that there were potentially 3 victims that were all deceased, and another person that had been shot in this home, and that person was going to the hospital.
Can't wait to hear
At this
everyone's
time, did
responses,
you have
Myra. It's awesome.
Any information on any potential suspects?
There was mention of a suspect, but the details that I was given at that time were incredibly limited, just that the suspect was no longer on scene.
So when you made your way to the hospital, did you make contact with Alex Jackson?
Yes, at the hospital we did make contact with him. He was being unloaded from the ambulance, just as we had parked and walked in through the ambulance
They
bay.
made good time then.
And do you see Alex Jackson in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can we
Would
see
you
him,
please
please?
point to that person and describe the color of shirt and suit jacket that person is wearing today?
Alex is sitting to the left of the defense. He's wearing a black suit coat, gray shirt.
I'm sorry, Investigator Denlinger, could you say that again and maybe just kind of back up a little bit? We're kind of getting some feedback from your microphone.
Okay. Alex is sitting to the left of the defense. He's wearing a black sports coat, gray shirt.
And the individual with the goatee?
Yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, may the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant?
The record so reflects.
What does an investigator wear when they are working on the job?
She was 19.
On a
Courtney.
normal day, I would wear dress pants, dress shoes, button-up shirt usually. You could wear like a polo shirt or something.
Are you equipped with any type of body camera?
No.
On June 15th of 2021, when you arrived at
No, you guys are
the
awesome.
hospital
That's what's
to
doing
make
it.
contact with the defendant,
You
were
guys support
equipped
each other
with
in
any
just
type
an
of
amazing
body
way.
camera
So
on your person?
thank you for just being the amazing people
Did you
you
have
are.
any type of recording device on your person?
No.
Seven, I'm looking into this right now. There might be something
As
from
you
the
were
judge
making
that tells the
contact
camera
with
where they
the
can look. I'm trying to
defendant
find
at the
those
hospital,
instructions.
Was there any other officer around?
Yes, Officer Brown was present.
Is that Officer Tim Brown?
Yes.
And as the defendant is taken into the hospital, into one of the examination rooms, do you ask Officer Brown for anything?
I told Officer Brown to stay with the Mr. Jackson because I knew Officer Brown had a camera on him and I wanted it to capture everything.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to re-begin State's Exhibit number 5, where we cut off. I believe the time that we cut off from a few days ago on State's Exhibit 5 was around 9:11 a.m.
All right. Before we do that, though, we took our break a little bit early. I'm just going to give everybody a quick stretch break before we start with a video. And this is a longer video. Is that correct, Mr. Scheer?
Correct, Your Honor.
All right.
This is how we're going to end the day,
Everybody
pretty
have
much.
Stand up. Have a quick stretch.
I am for real. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
It's not mandatory.
This
Is it?
No, you don't have
This judge earlier, when he first introduced everything, he's like, if you want to stretch, sometimes stand up and just stretch. That's okay. You can do that. He's like, I'm going to stand up and stretch.
Calisthenics. So.
He's a big fan of stretching, getting the blood flow.
All right.
Because everyone else, I'm not standing. I should have stood. I don't know what this is. We might have to make it small screen just so it's not so detailed. If it's bad, not bad, but like very gory. So there's a trigger warning right here. I'm not sure what they're going to show. Thinking it's probably going to be.
You ready, Mr. Chair?
Body
Your Honor,
camera
we are
at
ready
the hospital.
to republish State's Exhibit number 5. We will be actually starting the video up at about 9, 10, and 50 seconds a.m. in the morning.
All right, and just so I know, you're anticipating this will take us till 4:30?
This will take us for the rest of the day, Your Honor.
So we'll be watching this video until 4:30, and
I hate watching
we'll
videos
break at
all day.
4:30 and let you go. But just so you kind of can expect what we're doing the rest of the day. All right. Make sure I
Okay. Let's see what happens here.
go ahead.
Yeah, that or can you clip it onto Brandon or something?
I don't have a clip.
Holy cow. Okay, so this is hospital footage, so we might have some injury of his foot visible, just as a warning. There may be some blood visible. Okay, they just took him off the stretcher, put him on the hospital gurney, or the bed.
Happened 30 minutes to an hour ago. I'm not sure when.
It says look like it's right through.
Haven't asked, honestly. May I take these pants? Is that okay? Sure. All right. Vitals been all stable. I gave him 100 of fentanyl. He's got an 18 in that left AC for you if you need it. It's the one in the monitor running the entire time though.
Okay, they're cutting off his clothes so they can work on his leg, so for his foot. So I'm just going to be cautious here and make everything nice and small. Yeah, I think this is a hospital camera inside the emergency room. It looks like a fixed camera, definitely fisheye. And the audio is awful.
You got those stickers? Yeah, they're already on. Just if you make sure you're close to me.
Brian, or not Brian, Alex, I was talking to him. How bad are you hurting right now? Okay.
He's on Valium or something. Or fentanyl, I think.
Okay, can you wiggle your toes for me? Can you wiggle your toes? We've got the Doppler marks. Yes, you want to watch the breath.
You want to still wiggle it? Can you come real quick and get your back out? Okay. Anything back here was
So they're taking pictures of his foot.
in your chest.
So he just said tetanus antibiotic again.
I didn't hear self-inflicted. Did you guys hear that?
Tell me what happened today.
He can come in if you want. Okay.
Okay, there's the witness who just came in the door there in the blue shirt. They've just asked him what happened. Oh, there's the camera. Okay.
Marcy wants to go back. What were you saying? That's fine.
I don't know if the doctors know that they're recording this. Yep, now they do. Yep.
There was a man above your dad. Okay.
It might get a little yucky here.
Is that all you want to say?
I think you're right now.
What happened to you?
I got it. Ran at him.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
I pushed him. And he tried to take the gun. And well.
Okay, not sure why it stopped. I think somebody in the courtroom paused it. Oh, there's an objection. I don't think he lost his foot. I heard that it was a clear through shot, which means they should be able to find the bullet, or at least fragments of it. But they said they
The
didn't.
attorneys informed me the audio isn't working as well as they expected it to, so we're going to take a short 5-minute break. Hopefully they can get that squared away so we can all hear better.
The audio is working
Take
way
a
too good
5-minute
for us.
recess or thereabouts in an attempt to do a technological fix here, and just remind you of the admonition that I gave you previously, and hopefully this will be a short break, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's turn the lights on, please. Aziz. What did it take to get good help around here? Courtroom's in the dark. Improper mask usage. Yes, the lights are off for some reason. The lady fell asleep who's she has one job on this ship, and it's to turn the lights on and off, and she messed it up. But let's see. Okay, so that's the body cam from the police officer. The detective took it off the police officer and placed it on the shelf. Okay, that would explain, first of all, it's a fisheye body cam, which it's really good for if you're right in front of the subject, but everything else just looks all weird. The further from the middle of the screen you get, the more distorted it is. This is the only time we see Alex. Right. I think I'm looking at the proceeding. I'm looking at the Iowa Judicial Branch rulings as far as expanded news media coverage prohibited in the following situations and technical rules. Must be unobtrusive. You have to wear badges. All equipment must be unobtrusive, not produce sounds. No flashing lights. The courtroom shouldn't be able to tell when it's recording or not, which I think is cool. No artificial light again. And they're prohibited from moving about while proceedings are in session. They must maintain proper decorum at all times. So I think what happens is basically you've got these news media that are not supposed to be up and moving the cameras a lot. So we see very little panning and moving from the camera. So we're not going to see like we had in Idaho where they zoomed in on BK and then zoomed out and then zoomed in on the judge and you know, the little yo-yo effect, which is hard to watch as well. But at the same time, we would like to see a little bit of Alexander's reaction to this. Okay, yeah, I think that's it. So that's the only time we see Alex. We'll go ahead and switch to Super Source here while we wait. The audio's on, so if we do have a hot mic moment, we'll hear it. So this is the officer's body cam that's just taken off and sitting on the desk. Since when are they allowed to record in treatment bay? Wait for it. I was surprised by that, especially that the doctors saw that and they're like, oh, yeah, go ahead type thing. But we'll see. Kayla says, is this footage from after the accident? Was this brought in by defense or prosecution? Great question, Kayla. First of all, this is footage from 30 minutes to an hour after he got shot. They're not sure exactly how much time has occurred, but he basically just got... He made the 911 call at the house. The officers responded. The officers came in the house. They found him. They loaded him on a stretcher after they cleared the house. And he was hauled from the stretcher to the ambulance, from the ambulance taken to the hospital. And this video started right as he was loaded from the ambulance gurney, from the ambulance stretcher onto the hospital bed. So that's where we're picking up the story. They're asking him what happened. He seems like he didn't want to answer anything about what happened to his family, but he's starting to, in halting words, describe what happened to him. He's saying like he ran at him type of thing. He's trying to put together his story. He is on fentanyl. Fentanyl made the ceiling melt in my hospital room after a collapsed lung, says Ketlaw. The fentanyl is going to be an issue because anything he says, can you get it thrown out? Can you say he wasn't in a state where he could make decisions? Only a matter of minutes, this fool will convince me of his guilt. Let's see. Did you put the camera too low? I agree. It's right at like waist level. It should be up higher so you can see better. Doctors must assume body cams are possible. Yes, but it seems strange that they set up a camera in the room, whereas I would expect a police officer's body camera to be running anytime I encounter a police officer. So if there's a point where they're like, hey, now we need to treat the patient, you guys need to go out, you'd expect the camera leaves with it. But instead, they've set up a camera in the room. The hospital can't record, not in a treatment area. I believe you're probably going to have like HIPAA violations in the U.S. There's all sorts of protections about patients and their information and their rights regarding their health care that the hospital probably doesn't want to deal with if they're starting to record things like that. Weatherwatch is trying to gift some memberships and getting an error code. I'm sorry. Thanks for the generous idea. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Maybe we got demonetized again. Which is too bad because we... Not sure. I'm just looking to see if I can see anything on my side. Content. Let me see if YouTube gives me any warnings or anything. Definitely, I'm limited. Video may earn limited or no ad revenue due to content identified as not suitable for most advertisers. It remains fully playable and is eligible to earn subscription revenue from your YouTube Premium. I don't know why, but it's got ad suitability restrictions. Looks like we hit something. Maybe a refresh would work. I'm not sure. Let's see. His left foot, not his right. I believe you're right. This is his left foot. Lots of wiggling on his foot for being shot. Right, he is on fentanyl, but he said when he wiggles his toes, it hurts. It shoots some pain up. The pain level rises. Curious if Weatherwatch has decided on dinner. I'm not sure. I saw he was asking, but I'm not sure if he decided on something. I was on fentanyl, 100 mcg. I was going to say milligrams, but... patches for 1 month after back surgery. Lost that month. I don't remember it, says TW. His foot is a mess. It's pretty bad. Watching chat with my head down. It's not a very gory right now, but you can tell there's an injury. I'll say that. My hospital always gives fentanyl in the ER and diluted in a med syringe. I'm a repeat trauma patient. All right. Now, still, the light's off in the courtroom still. So, Aziz is fired, says DMB. Aziz, has it?
I
think we might have it fixed.
Hopefully the video should be better, so we'll go back on the record with everybody present and resume playing. Are you going to back up a little bit?
Yes, we are, Your Honor. We're going to start back up at 9:11
Oh, we're starting right at the beginning. So you've still got the ambulance gurney in the room at this point. So we're backing up and watching it again. What's the show that Aziz is in? What is the movie where he's the boy that's holding the reflector to reflect light into the Egyptian tomb or something, so that they can. Is it like The Mummy or something? I don't remember.
Yeah.
He does fall asleep.
Knocks it over. There's that glove box up there. Nobody should be bumping into that. Oh, yeah.
Is that just a
Okay, ambulance stretcher's out. That means he's on the bed. The doctor's asking questions right now. What's your name? He says Alex.
22 years old, single gunshot there. It looks like a through and through. You kind of see what you got. Happened 30 minutes to an hour ago. I'm not sure when. He doesn't remember exactly what time it happened.
self-inflicted?
Yeah, she did say self-inflicted.
Vitals been unstable. I gave him 100 of fentanyl. He's got an 18 in that left AC for you if you need it. It's kind of on the monitor the entire time, though. Kind of 20-ish. That's what that's like only bag. Yep, and he's got 100 of fentanyl too. Yeah, I'm still having a lot of pain with it, though. Do you mind if I take some just while you work?
Got 3 charges of murder.
That is not right, no.
I don't know exactly. It's not a death penalty state, but I think it's first degree.
36-6.
You got those fingers? They're already on. Just not a commission. You're toast me? Thanks, ready.
Brian, Alex, I was talking to him. How bad are you hurting right now? Okay. After the payments I gave you?
Feeling pretty good.
Okay, what would you rate it 0 to 10 to be in the worst? Okay, can you wiggle your toes for me? Can you wiggle them? We've got the Declamers. Yes, you want them off the bed.
You want to still wiggle it?
It's probably perfectly legal. It might go against policy, but I don't think it's a law in Iowa to remove your body cam. He was given the drug by the ambulance.
That's fine. Tell me what happened today. There was a man.
He said, "Tell me what happened today." And he said, "There was a man." And I said, "You can shut the door." Investigators come in, and now he's going to start talking or not talking. See how it goes. Fifth element. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Marcy went today. What were you saying? That's fine. There was a man above your dad. Okay. Is that all you want to say?
computer right now.
What happened to you?
Tish, thank you for the gift membership.
Ran at him.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
I pushed him. Then tried to take the gun. And well, see what happened.
So you tried to take the gun from the guy?
Yeah.
And then that happened. Okay.
He's gonna check your pulse is okay and your toes, make sure they're alright.
I'm going out to church. Yeah.
Listen to the pulse in your foot, right?
I'm not sure what the device is. It's like an audio meter of a heartbeat.
Yeah.
It's like a stethoscope, electric stethoscope.
Investigator with the police department. Okay. And this is my partner, Matt. He's an investigator too at the police department, okay? All right, bud. Do you go by Alex?
Yeah.
Okay. What is your, is it Alexander? Is that your full name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tish is amazing. She's been extremely generous gifting memberships.
Alexander, you want me Alex or Alexander?
Either.
Okay. Do you have a middle name?
Ken.
Ken?
Yeah.
And what's your last name?
Jackson.
Jackson?
This is the doctors asking the questions, not the police.
What's your birthday?
September 20th. Oh, yeah.
Of 2000?
Yeah.
So you're 20?
Yes. I've got a big old foot. Any numbness or tingling at all in your foot? When I move it, it's a bit tingling. You feel me touching here? Yeah. Right here? Yeah. Here? Yeah. Here? Yeah. Here? Yeah. Here? Yeah. Here? Yeah. Here? Push down. Okay. Push down on my hand. Pull up towards your nose. That really hurts. We're gonna get you something for pain, okay? Okay. Let me get some energy on that foot.
2 years ago. This happened 2 years ago.
What's that? You like feet? Oh no, I just like to take photos of blood. So.
He says, "Do you like feet?" to the photographer.
Do you have any other injuries, Alex?
I hope not.
Okay.
Yeah, they're taking pictures of every angle. He says, "I hope not," about other injuries. He's looking around the room. He's on fentanyl. You've got to realize he's been given a dose of fentanyl in the ambulance, and they're about to give him more drugs.
You want okay, bud? Okay. We're gonna let Brandon. He also works with us. We're gonna let him finish up, and then the doctors will probably come back in. And
Alex, do you guys have, one of my coworkers is out of the house. They were hoping to get some video of this, what happened. You guys have like a DVR or anything? Camera system at your house?
There's like a camera in the front. There's one by the garage too.
Where's this record?
Online?
Cloud, you know what the company is?
No. All I know is right there.
you know, is it like a ring system or Arlo?
Yeah, that's it.
Which one?
Ring?
Ring?
Yeah.
It's a ring system?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's definitely a little loopy.
Just trying to document your injuries right now with some photographs. I see you got some blood in your hands too. Do you mind if I take some photos of that here real quick? You just put your hands down just like that. Yeah, that's perfect.
Do you want me to take that off for a finger?
Actually,
Alex, we'll put that right back on you, bud. It just... Okay.
Yeah. I think it's my foot blood. Okay. I think the operator made me.
Cashette, you're going to have to turn on allow gifts on this channel. If you go to the top right-hand corner of chat, I believe you can right-click and on the 3 dots. Let's see. No, that's the wrong one. I forget where. It might be on the bottom, but you can turn on the gifts. If you see a membership gift given, you can click on it and change your settings.
You want to do that? That too, yeah. Yeah, just like that. That's perfect.
And this is just normal stuff. Brandon just takes lots of pictures, alright? I'm sorry, what was that?
It was probably his hands. We heard in the body camera footage, it says, "I've got my hand on my foot." Or he was trying to stop the blood. Or at one point he tried to do a tourniquet with the belt, so the belt broke.
It's not a shot.
Yeah.
She just said you cut your hand a little too. Right hand.
Or is there a little cup there or no?
You might have a little cup there. I might just take a photo of that if you don't mind. There. Thank you.
You want to put this back in your finger? Just get your pulse for you.
Yeah, I've never been on fentanyl, so I don't know if this is a normal reaction.
Very standard, though. We just like to, especially injuries like this, got to do our best to document everything. Can't the bullet? You know, I don't think so, because it looks like it comes out the bottom of your foot. Oh, yeah. Were you wearing shoes when it happened? No. No? Okay.
See that?
Sleep with shoes on, so.
That question was very interesting.
You didn't sleep with shoes on? Yeah.
Mrs. R.A. loves Stargate.
If you could, are you able to, does this leg hurt at all? No. Are you able to like rotate it in the other way? Yeah, so I can kind of see the full extent of your. I'm going to sign one. Fine, we're in now. So I got to, yeah, unless I expect a lot of night, okay. Okay. He says his dad handles that. Yeah, it looks like it probably went through your foot. Where were you at when this happened? I wonder if we could find that bullet on the ground.
That's what they're looking for.
Is it downstairs? Is there a lot of, how big is your downstairs? Is it pretty big? Sure. Think we've seen your house? You got a nice house there. Yeah.
Thanks, Ed, for posting that.
This is kind of confusing for us, all these circumstances, and we would like to chat with you some more about what happened and try to help you figure it out. Sarah and I would, but I'm going to read you Miranda warning just in the off chance that you had something to do with it. But you know, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk to an attorney, have an attorney present during questioning. If for whatever reason, Alex, you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you by the court. represent you with any question if you wish. Okay? You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer questions or statements. Sure. All right. With those in mind, be all right if we chatter with you a little bit. Great. Hopefully the staff will be back in to get you going on your foot here shortly. I know you're in some pain.
What's your address?
4444 Oak Court, Kentucky.
Northeast?
Yeah.
Do you have a phone number?
My phone number?
Yeah.
It's 319 440 4730.
Defense has already raised that he was interrogated when he was high, basically.
No?
Yes. 100% that'll be brought up.
School at? Where at?
Iowa.
Oh, are you still in Iowa?
Uh-huh.
Oh. Where'd you go to high school? Here in Cedar Rapids?
Kennedy.
You went to Kennedy?
Yeah.
When did you graduate?
19.
2019, and then you went to Iowa?
These are just questions to get him talking.
Yeah.
What did you study then?
Business.
Business? Alex, do you take any medications?
Just allergy.
Just allergies?
Yeah.
Okay. Allergic to anything?
They read his Mirandas already.
Okay. Do you use any recreational drugs or anything?
No.
No? No marijuana?
No, I've never touched it.
Okay.
I think she's watched most of them.
Cocaine? Methamphetamine? Nothing like that? Drink alcohol?
Sorry, I didn't mean to click off that so quickly.
Like a beer a week.
Okay.
A
Have
beer
you
a
had
week.
anything to drink today?
Nope.
No? Did you have anything to drink last night?
Just some soda.
Okay, no alcohol though?
No.
Okay.
I haven't had it for a while.
Okay. Haven't had any alcohol for a while.
I've not been as much of a beer guy.
Okay. Alright, no medications, you don't take any drugs of any kind, and don't like drinking.
Do you have any untreated illnesses, mental health, or physical illnesses?
I hope not.
Hope not. Okay. Nothing you're aware of?
Nope.
Alex, can you kind of, so Matt and I, we didn't go out to your house, so we weren't really there to get to see.
You want me to my story?
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you could just start to fill us in so we can understand a little bit what went on.
Well, how far?
Well, kind of stuff like, can we start out with like last night, maybe? Like,
Yeah.
what time did you get home last night? Or,
I was home
okay,
all day.
okay. What time did you go to bed?
11, I think.
And where did you sleep at?
The porch.
Like outside, or is it a screen-in porch?
Screen-in porch.
It's a screen-in porch. How come you slept on the porch? Is that where you normally
It's
sleep?
nice up there.
Oh, okay. Do you have a bedroom at your house?
Yeah.
Okay, but you just wanted to sleep.
I sleep out there with my dog.
Oh, okay. What's your dog's name?
Hero.
Hero? What kind of dog?
English, whatever.
So you went to bed about 11. And was there anyone else? Who lives with you at the house?
My mom, dad, sister, and dog.
Okay. What's your mom's name?
Melissa.
Okay. What's your dad's name?
Jim.
Jim?
J-M. J-A-M.
No, he's not missing a toe. It's just clear through. I'm not sure if it broke any bones.
Sister's name?
Sabrina. Like the witch.
Okay. How old is she?
19, 18.
She's still in high school?
No, she's in college.
Okay.
Can I give him pain meds or?
Is your foot real bad? 15 minutes for us to talk to you?
I can talk.
Okay. If that's all right with you.
So this is bad. He's in pain, being questioned in pain and on drugs.
Right, or Matt, or...
No, that works. Hey, Sabrina like the witch?
Yeah.
Is that a nickname you got?
No, I was just serious.
Like Sabrina the Teenage Witch? Yeah.
Not based on how she acts.
All right, so you go to bed at
6
about
volt.
11 last night on the porch.
They were
Were you
okay.
the last one to go to bed?
I'll try it again.
Maybe. I think my mom was still walking around.
You see the silence? It's yellow on the bottom.
Yeah.
And Mom, Dad, and Sabrina were all at home too?
Yeah.
Okay. So you go to bed, and then what time did you wake up this morning?
I woke up and heard gunshots.
Woke up and he heard gunshots.
You take your time, Mom.
What door did you open? It's a porch door.
Go to the,
He's taller than me, I think. I don't know if he was there.
No, there's a white man, black man, Hispanic, Asian.
Oh, black man? I know he's wearing black clothes. I don't.
When you go in that screen door, or the door from the screened-in porch, what room were you in?
The kitchen.
You just lift your foot up, Alex. There we go. You're just bleeding quite a bit.
So you just go right into the kitchen.
Yeah.
And he's in the kitchen too?
No. I heard him downstairs. So I went downstairs. He was messing with my dad's gun.
What kind of gun?
22. Right? Yeah.
Do you have a mask on?
Oh yeah, one of those ski masks or whatever.
Or a ski mask? Did you see his hair?
No.
How about his shoes?
I think they're green. I can't tell you. I'm not a shoe guy.
Yeah, that's okay.
Shoe guy.
The chubby.
Probably green. Chubby.
green shoes, ski mask, black clothes.
So you went downstairs, he was messing with your dad's gun. And then what happened?
Well, he's messing with her. And killed my dad, I think.
He told your dad? What do you think that?
I don't know.
Well, was your dad saying anything to him?
He was on the floor, and I ran at him.
Your dad was?
Yeah, my dad was.
You ran at the guy with the gun?
Yeah. And
what room are you guys in?
like the stairs.
The bottom. Is it like a big family room?
We watch Glorious Bastards.
You and your dad did?
Big family does.
Not the whole family.
Was everyone get along real good last night?
Yeah.
Yeah, the ski mask is very convenient.
Theodore. Same time. Everybody. Good night.
Mr. Scheer, I think this is the time to stop, but I've got 9:35:25, I believe, so
It's 5:30 my time here.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to stop for the day. Asked to be back here ready to go at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Again, I'd remind you of the admonition that I've given you. Still more evidence to hear. Keep an open mind. Wait till you've heard everything. Don't talk to anybody about this case. Don't let anybody talk to you. Stay away from any media coverage of this case. And again, no sort of investigation on your own. So thank you all, and have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
I think the light lady is probably over her shift, so no more work will happen today. They keep everyone in the dark. Glass 420, thanks for becoming a subscriber. Welcome. You want me to review the new details on BK? If I can, I've got it. This is my activity night, so I've got to sort of end soon, but I don't have to go far tonight.
Terry, our light operator left.
Our light operator left. Judge is going to have to turn the lights on himself if he's not careful. There we go. Now we can see.
Anything we need to talk about on the record from the state's end?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson, on behalf of Mr. Jackson? No. All right. You're good.
Jurors are going home. They're not sequestered, to my understanding. Mics are off. They've turned the mics off because there's nothing they need to talk about on the record. That's why the light's off on the microphone. Yes, we did listen to the 911 call, Sunshine Sunflowers. It was interesting, very interesting. The present in the 911, or what was lacking in the 911 call, is also what's lacking in the hospital room. There seems to be no questions about his family, about how they're doing, about what's happening. His response does seem, on the 911 call, he's like, yeah, I think my mom's here, I think my sister's here, maybe my dad. But he's been, crawling to get his phone. Finally, he's able to call 911. Doesn't say anything about trying to call his family and them not responding or anything like that. But we will go over just a little bit because so much news has broke. I know a couple of you have posted in here some updates as we've gone along. 1 second, let me switch to this guy right here. Okay. We have some updates as far as the BK trial goes. BK, Brian Koberger, he's the individual who's been charged in the murders of the 4 college students up in Idaho. And they just newly unsealed the search warrant from Washington State University of his apartment. So this is, let's see if I can pull up the information here. Most of the information in the search warrant, as far as the reason for the warrant, the probable cause and everything, is the same as what we've seen before. It's just a repeat. It's a copy-paste from what we saw earlier when Idaho released it. But the new part that we got, other than I think there's a female officer that has some similar testimony, but it doesn't seem to be anything new, are the items that they confiscated or seized from his apartment. And we have one nitrile-type black glove, so black rubber glove, basically, like the kind they used in this court to hold the evidence. One Walmart receipt with one Dickies tag, 2 Marshall's receipts, a dust container from Abyssal Power Force vacuum, 8 possible hair strands, 1 Fire TV stick with cord and plug, 1 possible animal hair strand, 1 possible hair, another possible hair, another possible hair, and another possible hair strand, 1 computer tower, and 1 collection of dark red spot collected without testing, 2 cuttings from an uncased pillow of reddish-brown stain, larger stain has been tested, and 2 top and bottom of mattress cover packaged separately, both labeled C, multiple stains, 1 tested. So that's a lot more news. We have, in addition to that, the news that came out just recently that he was in contact multiple times, or he tried to make contact multiple times on Instagram with one of the victims. There's no indication that there was any response to or acknowledgement of his attempt to contact her. But that information, I believe, leaked probably from somebody within Idaho Judge will not be happy about that. So we'll see if something happens on that front. The kid is very creepy, according to High Speed Drifter. Yeah, he's acting differently than I would imagine I would in that situation. But having not been in that situation, I'm just guessing. I'm speculating. We can cut away now. The judge is no longer in view. Right? It's they're just wrapping everything up. And we're not going to hear anything either. So we will cut away to. Let's see. I can't think of what I want to switch to. Sorry. Let's do a 2-box. No, let's do a 1-box. And I want. Well, there's their courtroom. But I'm right here. There we go. Okay. Where did we leave off with antifreeze case? I watched yesterday's broadcast and rewind. Was entertaining. 6-volt. We left off yesterday because there was just too much stuff that can get me in trouble with YouTube. Hold on one second. I've got to turn off the audio or else that's going to blare out as soon as Judge Doro comes on. We left just there was too much stuff that violates YouTube's terms of service or flirts with that line for me to be comfortable with risking my channel on it. I realized that we did invest a lot of time in that, but it just was going down a road that it wasn't headed in a good direction. Something bad would pop up all the time. So we dropped that a little bit. You can still find it if you want to watch. TMJ4 has it. WISN has a good feed. I believe Law and Crime is still carrying a feed every day, and you can follow that. And those you can rewatch all those on their channels as well. Let's see. I have to go back to work. Let's see, I missed that one. Who has to go back to work? Oh, Katrina. Have a schnauzer that's screaming coming in. That's a screamer coming in. A screaming schnauzer. Schnauzers. We had a lady down the road from me when I was growing up. They had like 8 of them, and I'd have to like drop off cookies and bread and stuff at her door or stuff. And my family would make it. We drop it off, and you knock on the door, and the house would just erupt. It was. I was scared to death of them, honestly. It would be cool. The golden doodle sealed Beaky's fate. I don't think it will. It's hard to get that sort of animal evidence in. I mean, it's hard enough with just the police. You need a handler and a trained dog to indicate that he indicated this. I don't think the golden doodle will be like bark bark. It's that suspect right there, like a Lassie moment or something. The judge fell asleep in the antifreeze case. Is that true? That would be funny. Many possible hair strands. I wonder who they are. That's going to be interesting. If there's the golden doodle, I guess, is the hair. Maybe that would be the sealed BK's fate. The golden doodle's hair strand. If they can do a DNA match to the dog, that would be cool. Yeah, there were some mattress stains. Let's see. Thanks for the recap. Have fun with your fam today. I will. We're just going with the boys. We're going to do some woodworking tonight. Just as a youth group. Let's see. Is there any other questions? Amber Heard did it. No, the dog's hair in BK's apartment would be great. Yeah, that would be cool. I was thinking, AJ, when you first mentioned that, I was thinking Lassie, like, Lassie movie. Who was it that killed him? Golden Doodle? Woof woof. Oh, you mean it was so-and-so? Woof, woof. Okay. Yeah, that would be funny, but that wouldn't stand in court. But the hair would be pretty telling. Let's see. Debbie says, like I said, 5K plus would really burn your burner phone if your channel went down. Thanks for that, Debbie. I don't think the channel will go down. We'll be very careful, and we'll be safe. Yeah. Active shooter at a Michigan hotel. What's going on? What's the world coming to? Just looking at WFLA. Is this I'm not sure if this is live or not. Just taking a quick peek here. Active shooter situation in Michigan hotel. This may be an old video though. Hopefully it's not current. It's the way people are walking around. I think it's not current. 3 strands of hair. Carol Martin, thanks so much for today. A lot more interesting and engaging than yesterday's X-rated. I trust you censoring, but when necessary. But yesterday was way too much. Hope justice prevails. I think it will. I think you're going to see another conviction there in the Jensen case. And I don't think it'll take the jury 30 hours to deliberate to get to that either. They do DNA on animals, and it's very expensive. Maybe they'll do it. Maybe that'll be enough to do that in the Idaho case. This one, I think, has gone into dementia. He's really lost it. On this case, I'm not sure. I won't speculate on whether or not he's mentally deficient as just day to day, but I am concerned with how the officers are questioning him when he's in pain and on medication in the hospital. So I don't know if the reading the Miranda warnings when he's been drugged on fentanyl is going to stand up. And so the fact that this is being played to the jury, I don't know. It is surprising me. The active shooter was from October. Yeah, this was an old video. So false alarm. Thank you. That's just what played next on the feed once the courtroom shut off. It's about $100 for a dog DNA test. That's not too bad. I'm wondering if there might be a much more detailed test that would be more expensive. Lord of the Rings reference for Galadriel's hell. Galadriel's. There it is. Galadriel's. I said it. Galadriel's hair. Yes. Like the Lord of the Ring reference. If they have her hair in the his room, that would be interesting. You can watch Oklahoma for more car chases. We seem to have a lot lately. Debbie, you guys seem to be releasing dash cam on a daily basis. Do you know you can turn autoplay off? Yes, but I just never do. Had my dog DNA tested through Embark. Well worth it. Okay. They don't shed, but they lose hair the same way we do, so it's possible. That's on the Labradoodle or the Golden Doodle. Still no news on the dog bites wrong guy incident. Gordon, here's what I did. I went back. I've got a Freedom of Information request filed with the California Highway Patrol on that incident. And I went back and I said on the 29th of December, if they meant that they have 14 business days to respond. And then I was generous with what days were considered holidays around New Year's and Martin Luther King Day and all that. I think they may have as late as early next week to get back to me on that front. So I have checked again. I don't have anything right now. I've been following up with it about every hour on my phone, just checking the email to see if something comes in, because I do want to bring that live to you as soon as that happens. But nothing so far. As soon as that comes in, or we hear something from Florida about Sarah Boone's letter, I'll bring that to you. We'll do a special show just for that. But thanks for checking up. I'll let you know as soon as I have something. Why is the dog chewing on this guy? Let's play that sound really quickly. I haven't played that in a little while.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
Yeah, I can't wait to play that when we have additional material about that background. Good night. Been listening, trying to get housework done. See you tomorrow. Thanks for being here, Bella. I think it's time for me to wrap up. I've got stuff to do as well. Now, the SB has been pushed back to April. Any guesses on how many more letters she will write between now and then? At least one, I think. At least one to the judge, Courtney. That's my over and under. I'm just going to go with the one. But as long as she has a pen and she has paper, that's going to happen. By gosh, make them work for it. I'm not a cat. You guys, it's been an amazing day. Thank you so much. It's been a great broadcast. It's fun to watch this with you guys. It's a lot more fun than watching it on my own. Have a good night, everyone. Please stay safe. Virtual hugs to everybody. I know there's several of you who are going through some tough times today. We had some hard news about some fur babies that is very hard. Our hearts go out to you guys. Please just know we're here for you. Tonight, please give a hug to those people you love. Smile at somebody, make their day just a little bit better. And please stay safe till we broadcast again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, as we do every weekday morning. Stay safe. We'll regift the internet then, too. So first person in chat, I'll have to figure out, because I lose the first person if I open the chat right now. So I'll have to figure out how to do that, to regift to the appropriate member when we go live tomorrow. But thanks a lot, y'all. Have a good night. We'll see you.